Chapter 1449. The number of missions set by Shi Tu in the upper realm had been completed, but because there was a settlement date, Jun Changshao could only wait while thinking about how to scheme against Empress Ling Yao. New missions were refreshed at fixed intervals, and the disciples continued to do them alone, or in groups while they were cultivating. After all, they would be rewarded after completion. Patriarch, Li Qingyang said, the martial arts resources in the vending machine can no longer bring benefits to the disciples. Sect missions were actually disciples' missions, and after completion, they would be rewarded with corresponding contribution points to purchase items in the personal store. However, since they had not been upgraded after coming to the upper realm, they were almost non-existent. No rush, no rush. Jun Changshao said, let everyone save their contribution points first. When the version is upgraded, it will definitely come in handy. Because the disciples' store had not been upgraded, he could only let everyone save their contribution points first, and when the version was upgraded, they could squander them as much as they wanted. Stupid author, hurry up and upgrade it. Sorry, the system said. The disciples' store requires the host to spend contribution points, achievement points, or reputation points to upgrade. Jun Changshao roared. Does this upper realm system have a function that doesn't cost money? Yes, it will be refreshed 5 times a month for free. The disciples' store was still in the lower realm, and the items sold there could not keep up with the times. The new pills were not fully provided, so the only way was to upgrade it. With the new upper realm system, it was really difficult to do anything without money. However, the only fortunate thing was that the disciples' store could be upgraded with achievement points, and there was no need to use contribution points or reputation points. Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, I thought achievement points were worthless, but it turns out that they were waiting for this. The system said, to be exact, the upper realm system pays more attention to sect missions, not only to the purchase of goods after completion, but also to let them participate in the construction of the sect, and then benefit themselves. That makes sense. In the lower realm, when sect missions appeared, it was nothing more than earning achievement points to upgrade the sect, and thus gain more functions. However, the activation condition had to be full, so the disciples had a long blank period. Now that the new sect missions would be refreshed at a fixed time, it seemed to mean that they would never be completed. This undoubtedly required the disciples to work hard at all times, and then accumulate more achievement points. In the lower realm, a sect might be able to rely on cheats to carry it forward, but in the upper realm, everyone would need to work together. How much does it cost to upgrade the disciples' store? 10 million. Jun Changshao facepalmed and said, the achievement value and contribution value systems have both collapsed. The system said, if the host thinks it's too much, you can use 10,000 reputation points instead. Scram! Jun Changshao roared. Because the disciples' merchant shop required achievement points to level up, Jun Changshao ordered that as long as they had time, they must complete missions. He even considered whether or not to set a monthly mission completion quota. What are you thinking about? Rows of flowers came in from outside. Jun Changshao came back to his senses. Just as he was about to speak, he heard her say, I knocked on the door, but you didn't hear me. All right then. Go Sheng had no choice but to swallow the words, why didn't you knock before coming in? And said, I was thinking about whether or not I should let my disciples complete enough missions every month. Has my husband finally figured it out? Figured what out? Jun Changshao was dumbfounded. Rows of Flowers said, during my time in the sect of all times, I didn't feel like a sect, but more like a big family. That's right. Jun Changshao said proudly. That's what I'm happy to see. Whether it was the former Iron Bone, or the current sect of all times, he had never treated it as a force. He had always treated it as a family. He was the parent, and his disciples were the children. He would take care of them as they grew up. Rows of Flowers said, in this cruel world, disciples need to adapt to the harsh environment, and have the courage to spread their wings and soar into the sky. They shouldn't always stay at home and live a life of being fed. What are you trying to say? Jun Changshao frowned and said. Rows of Flowers walked over and said, Are you interested in learning about my past? Not interested, Jun Changxiao said. You don't mean what you say. Rose of Flowers took another step forward. Regardless of whether the other party agreed or not, she directly used the soul race's secret technique to fuse with him. It's coming, Lord Rose. This time, the two of them fused. Jun Changxiao's hair did not turn green. Instead, his soul seemed to pass through layers of space and was placed in a dark place similar to a cliff. There were many children about 10 years old fighting with all their might inside. They were not strong, but they fought very crazily. There was a high platform in the central area, with a lot of food placed on it, indicating that only those who rushed over could get it. Jun Changxiao turned into a soul and stood where he was, watching as a bystander, until he found a girl with disheveled hair in a corner. Although she was not tall and still had a childishness, she looked very similar to Rose of Flowers. So he blurted out, "Her daughter? That's when I was young." Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched and said, "You brought me to your childhood memories." Yes. Jun Changxiao was speechless. If you want to play memory killing, why do you have to bring me along? The system said. This chapter is going to be lame again. Jun Changxiao kept staring at the young Rose of Flowers, who seemed to be isolated from the rest of the world. He said, "It feels like there is not much difference between childhood and adulthood." Boom. Boom. The teenagers had gone crazy for the food. They fought for a long time inside, and only stopped when they were exhausted. Is there still no winner? A cold voice came from above. Then we can only wait for tomorrow. Whoosh! The food on the stone platform disappeared into thin air. Then the memory fast-forwarded. Jun Changxiao was still standing in the same place. The teenagers were fighting in the dark place. Although some of them occasionally got food, most of them were starving. It's too cruel. If we can't survive here, how can we face the crueler reality? Okay, Jun Changxiao said. Why do you keep standing in the corner? Because I'm not hungry. This reason made Go Sheng unable to refute. However, after a few more battles, the young Rose of Flowers finally made a move. Although she was one of the few girls in the experience, she was more ruthless than boys of the same age. She could easily poke the eyes, kick the crotch, and other means. Go Sheng felt a chill down his spine. He said to himself, I have to be careful lest she plot against me. Because the young Rose of Flowers was extremely strong, she won the final victory in the fight for food. Next, the memory fast-forwarded again. As long as she participated in the battle, it would end in victory. Whoosh! In order not to use memory killing to make up the number of words, the Rose of Flowers separated from Jun Changxiao's body. The latter immediately returned to reality. After a short silence he asked, How long have you been there? A year. What if you can't get food? Die. Jun Changxiao fell into a short silence again. Then he turned to look at her and said, You asked me to look at your memories. Are you telling me that people have to experience cruel torture to live in this world? Natural selection, the survival of the fittest. This is an eternal law. Husband, you care too much about your disciples. You're worried that they will encounter danger. But if they don't experience wind and rain, how can they grow up in the upper realm? You just asked me if I want my disciples to complete a certain number of tasks every month. I believe that after looking at my childhood memories, you should already have the answer in your heart. I have. Jun Changxiao said seriously. A smile appeared on the Rose of Flowers' face. However, Jun Changxiao paused and said, I won't train my disciples in the way you soul race do, because it's not only in desperate situations that they can really grow up. In fact, there are many gentle ways to achieve the same effect. The Rose of Flowers said, I'm just letting my husband refer to it. After saying that, she turned and left. Wait a minute. Jun Changxiao stopped her. After pausing for a long time, he said, Actually, you were quite cute when you were young. The Rose of Flowers was stunned at the door. After a while, she looked back and said with a smile, Husband, are you praising me? Where was he? Where was he? Jun Changxiao had disappeared from the study. He was in the hall, covering his red face and roaring in his heart. How could I say such shameful words? Chapter 1450. Because she had experienced things that others had never experienced in her childhood. She became the Rose Queen who fought everywhere. The disciples of the Sect of all times were the opposite. They had never experienced the experience of killing for food. They were lucky enough to join the Sect of all times before, and after they came into contact with martial arts. They could enjoy all kinds of martial arts resources, and even become a family. Rose of Flowers was very envious, but she also knew that if they were always under her husband's protection, they would be a group of children who had never experienced wind and rain. They would not dare to spread their wings and soar in the sky alone. How could Jun Changshao not understand this woman's intentions? However, the Sect of all times would not be like the soul race. In order to become stronger, or even to become cruel, they had to undergo inhuman training. It was not that Go Sheng spoiled his disciples too much, but it was also possible to change the situation. For example, in the life and death secret realm, although failure would not lead to death, the experience could still be achieved. Moreover, that woman's real intention was to let him understand that in order to survive in this cruel world, everyone had to work hard. Pass down the order. Jun Changshao said, the outer sect disciples must complete 10 low-star missions, the inner sect disciples must complete 5 mid-star missions, and the core disciples must complete 1 high-star mission. Yes, old Ge, who was in charge of the mission pavilion, immediately went to work. After the news spread throughout the sect, the disciples would do missions throughout their entire martial arts career. In the past, it was almost Jun Changshao who carried the sect alone. When they devoted themselves to the sect's missions, it was equivalent to everyone carrying the sect together. Go Sheng was no longer alone. Behind him, there were 100,000 disciples. What a pity, the system complained. The host does not have a higher life and death secret realm for the disciples to experience more cruel training. Jun Changshao said indifferently, as long as they can complete the sect's missions on time, they will accumulate more contribution points over time. When the time comes, what can't they farm? What can't they buy? Heh, the system said. Your wife even enlightened you. At the mention of Rose of Flowers, Go Sheng thought of the childhood memories he had seen earlier. He thought to himself, is this her childhood trauma? If this is a childhood trauma, as her husband, shouldn't you go and make up for the trauma in her heart, and give her a brighter and better future? The system said. Jun Changshao fell silent. Don't walk further and further down the path of being a scumbag. Men should be responsible, the system said again. Fuck, Jun Changshao said. Do you think you're Elder Wei? Dark night. Rose of Flowers leaned against the window and looked up at the bright starry sky. Her thoughts returned to the memories of her childhood in the land of darkness. Jun Changshao had only seen a small portion of them. He did not even know that the youths who were competing for food were actually from the same clan. Many of them were related by blood. In order to survive, they had to fight. The next day, after washing up, Rose of Flowers pushed the door open and walked out. As a result, she saw a bouquet of roses at her feet. Her expression was suddenly stunned. What do you mean? She looked up and asked. Jun Changshao, who was lying on the side room, said lazily, I saw that when you were young, you used your body to protect a rose that grew in a crack in the stone. I thought you liked it very much, so I just catered to your interests. There's no other meaning. You even noticed such a small detail? Rose of Flowers laughed. Swoosh. Jun Changshao jumped down from the roof, then put his hands in his trouser pockets and strode away. Jun Changshao, Rose of Flowers shouted, you're a patriarch. Giving me 1 flower is too stingy. TSK. Jun Changshao curled his lips and said, do you want me to plant a courtyard of roses for you? That works too. In your dreams. That day, Sun Bukong led his members to search the medical hall. As a result, after searching for half a day, they still could not find the rose seed. In the end, they could only ask the people of the Drizzle Hall to buy it outside. Because of the patriarch's order, the disciples were more active in doing missions. So every day, there were people accepting and completing missions. Everyone picked up firewood and made a big fire. Contribution points and achievement points also slowly increased. Ding! The medical hall has successfully planted 5 million purple phoenix glazed jade grass. Hall exclusive missions have been completed. 1,000 contribution points, 1,000 achievement points, 100 reputation points. Damn, Jun Changshao said in surprise. The rewards are high. It was high, but the hall exclusive missions that appeared on the mission board were limited. It was destined to be difficult to do them every day. However, in the past month, the disciples had completed mini missions. Almost everyone had done them. The contribution points and achievement points obtained were about 1 million. 1 million a month, 10 million a year. Jun Changshao counted with his fingers and almost fainted from happiness. The system broke down and said, "Why do I feel like there's something wrong with the host's mathematics?" Creak. 2 months later, Rows of Flowers opened the door and walked out. The roses planted around were in full bloom. The breeze blew, and the fragrance of the flowers filled the air. It could be said to be intoxicating. She liked this plant. He had planted it all over the courtyard. What was this? That's right, a typical extravagance and waste. Fortunately, Yuan Gongzi was running the elixir store in Lin Yuan City. Otherwise, he would definitely record it in the accounts. The patriarch did not hesitate to use a lot of manpower and material resources to win his wife's favor. Jun Changshao, who was standing at the entrance of the courtyard, said, "Are you satisfied now?" Rose of Flowers said, "Why are you suddenly so good to me?" "Because you are a member of the sect of all times. As the patriarch, I must give you a bright future. This is called responsibility. This is called responsibility," Jun Changshao said. The system broke down and said, "Some words come out of his mouth. Why do they sound so straightforward?" Pfft. Rose of Flowers covered her mouth and laughed, saying, "So childish." Damn. He did not hesitate to use the nourishing soil and let Paige help to plant a courtyard of roses for her. She actually said that he was childish. Good intentions were treated as ill intent. But Rose of Flowers walked over and said with a smile, "I like it very much." She was a bit shorter than Jun Changshao, so she looked very petite in front of him. "Can I hug you?" Ding! Epic mission completed. Entering the settlement period. Ding! The upper echelons and disciples of the sect must complete the designated sect mission within 3 months and meet the defined conditions. Epic mission completed. Completion rate 500%. The host will receive 2 million contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points. 564,0000. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing Epic Mission 3 of the Upper Realm version. The host has received the right to purchase the high-grade Life and Death Secret Realm X1, the right to purchase the 4 pieces of Bahuang Tianyin X1, the upgrade of the Sex Function X1, and the modification stone of Unstoppable Blade X1. A series of notifications rang in his ears, and Jun Changshao was stunned on the spot. The epic mission had reached the target a month ago, but the disciples and the various halls were still doing it. Therefore, the hidden completion rate kept increasing, and the final settlement was as high as 500%. This was definitely a new record for an epic mission. But Sure Air was given 1 million for 200% completion, and Sure Air was given 2 million for 500% completion. The system explained, "There must be a numerical limit in this aspect to prevent the host from using the bug to crazily earn points." Jun Changshao's face fell. "Wait a minute. Why is Rose of Flowers in my arms? She actually dared to take advantage of me when I was distracted." Jun Changshao was about to push her away when a surge of power suddenly erupted from his body. The 2 energy cores in his dantian rapidly underwent a huge change, and an endless amount of power enveloped his body, making him feel a little lightheaded. Ding! The host has successfully broken through to the 4th transformation core realm. Ding! The host has successfully broken through to the 5th transformation core realm. Ding! The host has successfully broken through to the 6th transformation core realm. Fuck! The readers who were present at the scene exclaimed in unison. The system's poisonous milk just now was really huge. Chapter 1451. After completing the epic quest, Jun Changshao jumped 3 levels and stepped into the 6th transformation core realm, reaching the peak of the spirit transformation stage. He was only one step away from the soul reincarnation stage. Of course, it wasn't because of the system, but mainly because the completion rate was as high as 500%. If it had been a little longer, and the disciples continued to do it, the jump in realms would have been even more terrifying. After breaking through to the 6th transformation stage, Jun Changshao looked inside his body and found that the 2 true nuclei were more substantial than before. The surface was outlined with complex patterns, and the energy source was more explosive. This is the power of true spirit, the system said. After entering the core realm, a martial artist's spiritual energy would be upgraded to true energy. After entering the 4th transformation stage, it would transform into true spirit again. Not only would it contain powerful energy, but it would also control a higher level of the laws of heaven and earth. Comfortable, Jun Changshao said with his eyes closed. You broke through again? Rose of Flowers looked up, her eyes full of surprise. Previously, when Jun Changshao completed Shi-Er's quest and broke through, she was there. And she was very close because she had just bitten his arm. Now that he broke through again, she was also there, closer than last time because she was already in his arms. The system couldn't help but sigh. Every time the host breaks through, his wife is by his side. This is probably fate. I forgot. That woman is still taking advantage of me. Jun Changshao gradually calmed down from his excitement, then said with a cold face, Are you done hugging me? Rose of Flowers pressed against his chest and smiled happily. Hugging you for a lifetime is not enough. Jun Changshao wanted to push her away, but after raising his hand he didn't move. Forget it. Breaking through 3 levels in a row. I'm in a good mood. Let her take advantage of me. Hug me. No. Hug me. No. Although Jun Changshao said so, his hands were showing signs of action. Enlightened, the system said. Shua. At this moment, Gu Xiaoxi flew up to the Dragon Head Peak and landed in the courtyard, with a face full of excitement. Brother, you broke through? Jun Changshao looked at him. Rose of Flowers looked at him. The corner of Gu Xiaoxi's mouth twitched when he saw the 2 of them hugging each other. Then, he stiffly turned around and walked out with a blank look on his face. He muttered, Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Shua. Jun Changshao hurriedly pushed Rose of Flowers away, and then returned to his residence in embarrassment. Rose of Flowers watched the guy leave in a panic. Although she was a little disappointed, a charming smile still appeared on her face. Her husband had changed a lot from being cold at the beginning to not rejecting her. Who? Jun Changshao, who had returned to his residence, leaned against the door. His entire face was flushed red. He subconsciously looked at his hands and said to himself, The power of the readers is too strong. I can't control myself. Well done, the system said. Jun Changshao's rise in cultivation level created a great atmosphere. But the disciples were only happy and not excited. This was because the patriarch's breakthrough was something they had long since become accustomed to. However, this was the first time Gu Xiaoxi had seen it. Especially those who had continuously improved. He was dumbfounded on the spot. Brother, how many rounds did you advance? 3 rounds. Gu Xiaoxi raised his thumb and said with a voice that was close to breaking. Awesome. With the samsara spirit, it was true that one would become stronger each time they died. But after being reborn, they would have to start all over again. The only difference was that the process would be a bit faster. As for skipping levels in the revolving core realm, and skipping 3 levels at that, he had never heard of or seen such a thing before. Brother, Jun Changshao patted his shoulder and said, as long as you follow me, you will be able to do it in the future. I can also skip a level? Gu Xiaoxi's eyes lit up. Jun Changshao said confidently. Not to mention skipping a level, even skipping to the truth realm is not a problem. Brother, Gu Xiaoxi said, little brother will follow you from now on. So, you still need to help the disciples complete the Sect's missions. No problem, leave it to me. The system was speechless. This guy doesn't seem to have any IQ. If he is sold by the host one day, he will probably have to help count the money. Don't talk about him. Jun Changshao put his legs on the table and said, I'm just asking if your face hurts. The system fell silent. Previously, Goshing hoped that he could skip another level, but it said that he was thinking too much. In the end, he jumped one level higher than sure air. Later on, after reading Rows of Flowers as childhood memories, Jun Changxiao hoped that he could use the life and death secret realm to replace it. It said that it was a pity that the host did not have a higher level. But in the end, the mission was completed and one was given. This slap to the face was resounding. Sorry. After a while the system said proudly. I don't have a face, it doesn't hurt. Jun Changxiao could not be bothered with him. He then opened the shopping list and clicked on the high-grade life and death secret realm. This was no different from what he bought in the lower realm. It was nothing more than an increase in overall strength, allowing the disciples to better use it for actual combat experience. As for the price, it was 500,000. 3 months ago, Goshing might have seriously considered whether to buy it or not, because he was indeed a little poor at that time. Now that he had more than 5 million contribution points, there was no need to think about it at all. Ding! The host has spent 500,000 contribution points and obtained a high-grade life and death secret realm X1. It has been transferred into the spatial ring. Ding! Sect contribution points, 514,000. Sigh. Jun Changxiao sighed with emotion. The life of the rich is so dull and tasteless. After buying the high-grade life and death secret realm, he set his sights on the 4 pieces of 8 desolate heavenly melody set. These were 4 equipment type formulas, including armor, boots, helmet and wrist guard respectively. The total price was 2 million contribution points. This is too expensive. The set has attribute support. You can't lose out or be cheated by buying it. Alright. Jun Changxiao still reluctantly spent 2 million to buy it. In fact, after coming to the upper realm, the disciples had not changed their equipment. The 8 desolate heavenly melody set was just right to replace the outdated True Yang set. I have the equipment, Jun Changxiao said to himself. Only the weapon is missing. As he said that, he had already entered the spatial ring and held the crystal stone used to modify hard to keep blade in his hand. He said to himself, the mission gave me a modification stone. Could it be that the third form of hard to keep blade is no longer suitable for the upper realm? It's hard to say, the system said. After all, the host has not used this trump card since coming to the upper realm. Jun Changxiao shook his head and said, using hard to keep blade means that I will face a very dangerous situation. Therefore, I prefer to keep it sealed in the spatial ring. The host has really changed. The system sighed. You are no longer as reckless as before. Hard to keep blade was one of Jun Changxiao's greatest trump cards. In the past, he had used this item to court death in the lower realm and the dimensional battlefield. Now that he had come to the upper realm, he had not used it. Although Jimren Tonggu's protection was the reason why no one dared to look for trouble. In fact, it was also because he did not take the initiative to provoke trouble. This is not a change, Jun Changxiao said. This is growth. As he said that, he took out the reward of upgrading the sect function. After a short consideration, he finally chose the Spirit Pavilion that he had neglected for a long time. Ding! The Spirit Pavilion has been successfully upgraded to an enhanced version of the Spirit Pavilion. The new version of the Spirit Pavilion still retained the attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth from the lower realm. At the same time, it was also expanded. For example, the metal element had branches such as dark gold, tempered gold, and so on. The biggest change was that it could be embedded into equipment, even including exclusive heavenly weapons. Jun Changxiao said heroically. With a higher training ground and equipment with various special effects, sooner or later, I will make the entire upper realm kneel at the foot of the sect of all times. Chapter 1452. The 8 desolate heavenly melody set was just a recipe, so it still needed to be refined to know how powerful it was. Jun Changxiao lacked herbs for refining pills, but he did not lack ores. After all, he had obtained quite a lot of ores from destroying the Fuqian sect and the demonic mist forest. He could use them to refine 2 or 3 sets. Ding! Ding! In just 10 minutes, the 8 desolate heavenly melody set appeared in the spatial ring. In terms of form, It looked similar to the true Yang set, but in terms of craftsmanship, it was obviously several grades higher. Especially the breastplate, knee cover, and wrist guard had special patterns. Creak. Jun Changxiao pushed open the door. Wearing armor and a bright red cloak, he walked out with 8 steps. Under the contrast of the set, he could be said to be handsome to a whole new level. Coincidentally, Rose of Flowers walked in and was about to report the recent internal affairs of the sect. Seeing him wearing a bright and mighty set of armor, she could not help but stop. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment. How is it? Jun Changxiao stepped on the stone bench with 1 foot. 2 fingers pointed to the sky and put on a coquettish posture. Rose of Flowers said, "Hair is too much of a hindrance." Swoosh. Taking out a shiny razor, she smiled sweetly and said, "How about I shave it all?" Jun Changxiao broke down. This woman was too infatuated with baldness. The system said, "Actually, it shows that even if the host becomes bald, he still has an unstoppable charm." That makes sense. So shave it. Scram. The 8 desolate heavenly melody set was not bad, but the purpose of the equipment was to protect and not to be used for viewing. So how strong the effect was needed to be tested. How to test? Very simple. Call Li Qingyang and Yi Xingchen, one wearing the set and the other not, to verify it. Main Peak Martial Arts Practice Field. The disciples gathered outside and discussed softly. Ta. At this moment Yi Xingchen walked up. Li Qingyang was also here, and he was wearing the 8 desolate heavenly melody set. He could be said to be extraordinarily handsome and imposing. Let's begin. Jun Changxiao, who was standing in front of the main hall, said loudly, "Junior brother." Li Qingyang cupped his hands and said, "Please." Shua. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Xingchen rushed over. He could really gather the energy in his fist and used the heaven-crossing palm print. Boom, boom, boom. A short while later, Anyo was put down on the ground. His expression was sluggish. Apart from He Wudi, his strength was the most outstanding among the core disciples. He had no problem fighting against second senior brother. But in the end, he was defeated after a dozen moves. This was simply too humiliating. Patriarch, Li Qingyang said excitedly. The amplification effect is much stronger than the true Yang set. He was still operating his true energy. The patterns on his breastplate, knee cover, and wrist guard flickered with resplendent light and emitted an extremely desolate aura. This was one of the functions of the 8 barren heavenly sound set. As long as it merged with the user's true energy, it would greatly increase the user's strength in all aspects. In the battle just now, Li Qingyang's strength, speed, and defense were all above Yi Xingchen. Therefore, the latter was not upset at all when he was defeated after a dozen moves. However, there were disadvantages. Under the high explosive power, the consumption was also high. After a short fight, Li Qingyang clearly felt that the energy of his true core was greatly depleted. It's still acceptable, Jun Changxiao said. Battles were often decided in an instant. If a disciple was equipped with this kind of equipment that could instantly increase his combat power by 50%, he would undoubtedly have a greater advantage against the enemy. Anyo. Jun Changxiao walked down and said, "I have another set here. Do you want it?" Yi Xingchen, who was squatting on the stairs dejectedly, hurriedly raised his head and said without hesitation, "Yes." The text effect could transform him into an unparalleled god of war. But after all, it was a trump card and could not be used all the time. Therefore, he would not dislike the 8 barren heavenly sound set that increased his strength. As for the pride that was hurt just now, it did not matter anymore. If he could become stronger, he would even lie on the ground and let you trample on him. The appearance of the 8 barren heavenly sound set could be used to replace the true Yang set. However, the problem was that there was a serious shortage of ores. Therefore, Jun Changxiao sent a letter to Yuan Gongzi on the same day, asking him to purchase more materials in this area. The family that deals in herbs should also deal in ores, right? Yuan Feng thought for a moment, and immediately contacted them, and set up a banquet at a high-end restaurant. When the family that cooperated with the elixir store received the news, they wanted to cry but had no tears because if they continued to trade ores with him, they would definitely be haggled. Boom! At the back of the mountain, Jun Changshao set up the high-grade life and death secret realm and said loudly, "From today onwards, you will have a new place to train." The eyes of the disciples burned with passion. However, Jun Changshao added, "This secret realm is more advanced than the previous one. It is also divided into several modes. You must do your best." Yes. On the same day, Li Qingyang organized the disciples to explore. They chose the easy mode. Although they passed it in the end, they were all exhausted when they came out. "Brother," Gu Zhaoxi was interested and said, "Can I go in to train?" "Yes." Shua. He flew in and entered the secret realm. After a while, a loud voice resounded in the entire sect of all times. "Gu Zhaoxi challenges the hell mode. Damn. Martial uncle is so fierce." Junior brother Yi also challenged the hell mode in the past. Xiao, just as the disciples were discussing, Gu Zhaoxi flew out of the whirlpool of the secret realm, and then lay on the ground like a pile of mud, his legs twitching occasionally. Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "Take him to the medical hall." Woa! Woa! In a barren area, the cold wind blew like the cries of ghosts. Ta! Ta! After a while, a short martial artist in a black robe walked out. Because of the sky and angle, it was difficult to see his face clearly. "Disciple." In the sky, a figure condensed and said, "How is your cultivation?" The black-robed martial artist stopped and said, "Master, I have entered the 5th revolution of Dan Realm." "Ha ha ha." The figure laughed loudly and said, "When this old man brought you here, you had only just stepped into the half-step martial saint realm. In just a few short years, you've reached the 5th transformation stage. As expected of the child of the dimension, this kind of breakthrough speed is truly unprecedented and will never be surpassed. If Master did not help me awaken my bloodline, I might not have achieved what I have today." The black-robed martial artist said. "So," the figure said in a deep voice, "you have to win the 10-year agreement with Old Tong no matter what. Do not disappoint Master." Plop. The black-robed martial artist knelt on the ground and said, "I will do my best." Who? A gust of wind blew and helped him up. "Disciple," the figure said, "remember, after a person is born, their knees are only used to kneel to their parents." "Yes, let's go. Follow Master to the 10,000-foot cliff to continue cultivating." Extreme Cave Abode. After Masato Kitano put down a chess piece, he said, "I heard that Gu Hong Jinren's disciple came from the lower realm and is the son of the plane. I am afraid the 10-year agreement is not good for you." "Humph," Jinren Tonggu said in disdain. "The lower realm is full of sand. Just pick one, and you will be the son of the plane." "Even so," Reverend Chi Yi said. "But you cannot deny that Reverend Lone Swan is more outstanding than you when it comes to grooming disciples. Perhaps an ordinary child of the plane will be groomed into a top-notch expert in just 10 years. You think I will lose? You call me over to play chess all day, and don't focus on nurturing disciples. I can't imagine how you will win. Don't mention that guy. I can't teach him." When he thought about how he could not even break through to the 2nd transformation after training Jun Changshao for 2 years, Jinren Tonggu was furious. He said in frustration, "Taking this kid as my disciple is the one thing I regret the most." Chapter 1453. Sect of All Times, Dragonspine Peak. Gu Zhaoxi sat cross-legged on his bed with a serious expression on his face. He was in a dilemma. Which martial art should he cultivate first? At this moment, there were many secret manuals placed beside him. There was the 7 Mysterious Sunglow Break, the Radiant Heart Illumination Sutra, the Heaven Crossing Palm Print, and the Major Thousands Shadow Clone Art. Previously, because he had to assist the disciples in their missions, he did not have the chance to learn the sect's martial arts. Now that Jun Changshao had a breakthrough, he finally had some free time to instruct the disciples to do their missions appropriately. "Pick whatever you want." Gu Zhaoxi closed his eyes and chose the 7 Mysterious Sunglow Break. It seems very ordinary. He picked up the remnant scroll and began to study it. He gradually became engrossed in it. "Damn." After an hour, Gu Zhaoxi said in shock, This martial art is quite powerful. A few days later, he comprehended all 7 remnant scrolls. He stood on the peak and gathered 7-colored light with 2 fingers. He pointed it out of the mountain and dragged out a dazzling 7-colored light beam. Li Qingyang and the others raised their heads and looked at the light beam across the sky. They were shocked. 7 mysterious sunglow break? They had already cultivated this martial art in the lower realm. However, they rarely used it after coming to the upper realm because it was replaced by the heaven-crossing palm print. However, now that they saw Masters Junior use it, it was so powerful. Brother, Jun Changshao walked over and said in surprise, "Why is this martial art so powerful when you use it? Shouldn't a profound martial art be powerful?" Gu Zhaoxi said. Jun Changshao said, "The 7 mysterious sunglow break is almost outdated in our sect of all times. Now in your hands it can unleash such power. You're really talented." "Brother, don't tease me," Gu Zhaoxi said. "You can do it too." Jun Changshao shook his head. He communicated with the 7-colored energy between heaven and earth until the light gathered between his fingers. His face was filled with disbelief. At this moment, he could feel that the gathered energy light had undergone a drastic change from before. That's not right. He hadn't comprehended the 7 profound sunglow break for the past few years. So why was the condensed light beam so powerful? Was it because his cultivation base had increased? Wait. Jun Changshao soon discovered that the light beam was resonating with the true core, and the true soul energy within it was continuously strengthening it. Thus, he said in surprise, "This has never happened before." Swish! With a flick of his finger, a beam of light flew out. Boom! The tall and straight mountain outside the sect was instantly blown to smithereens. "I understand." Jun Changshao came to a sudden realization and said, "The 7 profound sunglow break will be greatly enhanced with the support of a stronger energy source." Woody had known about this for a long time. When he saw the Patriarch and Gu Zhaoxi display their skills, he did not feel the slightest fluctuation in his heart. He thought to himself, the power of the true soul from the upper realm can barely control the martial arts created by Senior Qishuan. High-level martial arts might not be able to display their full power in a low-level world, because there would be incompatibility. But with the power of the true spirit and the 7 profound sunglow break, the changes would be very obvious. Therefore, each generation was a god, and each generation played with Galen. After testing the power of the 7 profound sunglow break, Jun Changshao returned to the study and took out all 7 remnant scrolls. This was the original. The disciples and Gu Zhaoxi used the dungeons for cultivation. The difference between the two was that the original contained a special energy, as if there was some kind of profound meaning. Jun Changshao discovered it after he obtained it, but due to his low level, he could not pry into the mystery. Now that he realized that the martial arts were strengthened, he planned to study it carefully. But in the end, he still could not figure it out. No. The energy in this remnant scroll is too profound. I have to find someone to ask carefully. Woody was the one who knew the 7 profound sunglow break the most, but Gosheng did not know that the first remnant scroll he bought was stolen from him. So after thinking for a while, he went to the Rose of Flowers' residence and said, "What secret is hidden in the 7 profound sunglow break?" "I'm not sure. How did you get it?" "I got it from a relic when I was conquering other planes." Jun Changshao found the black and white Rakshasa and asked about the 7 profound sunglow break, but he still did not get anything. To be exact, they all felt that there was some kind of profound meaning in the remnant scroll, but they could not decipher the secret. The more profound it is, the more complicated it is. Jun Changshao looked at the 7 remnant scrolls that were emitting a heavy aura and said to himself, "If I can decipher it one day, I might have a great harvest." After the version update, the 7 profound sunglow break was instantly strengthened. So Jun Changshao ordered his disciples to study it diligently during cultivation. After gathering the power of true spirit, it could be put to use. Patriarch. One day, Lu Wansher came to see him and said, "Mengying has been acting strange recently." "What's strange?" "She often talks nonsense when she's sleeping, saying something about the immortality of heaven and earth, and the eternal existence of the demonic path. Jun Changshao suddenly frowned and remembered the huge black shadow that gathered behind the girl when he was cultivating in the space-time secret realm. Lu Wancher said worriedly, "Is she going mad?" "Don't think too much," Jun Changshao said. "I'll go and take a look." After saying that, he went to the space-time secret realm. As soon as he walked in, he saw Yao Minjing sitting on the ground with demonic aura around her, gradually gathering into a huge black shadow. She whispered, "The immortality of heaven and earth, the eternal existence of the demonic path." Boom! Jun Changshao punched the black shadow and instantly shattered it. He scolded, "If you're a soul with self-consciousness, get out of my disciple's body." "Patriarch." Yao Minjing opened her eyes and said with a firm gaze, "I want to go to the demonic territory." "Why?" Jun Changshao asked. "Because," Yao Minjing paused for a moment and said, "I keep feeling that there's an invisible force calling me." "The demonic tribe was destroyed long ago, but the demonic territory still exists?" Jun Changshao asked. "Yes," Gu Zhaoxi said. Jun Changshao looked back and said in surprise, "When did you come?" "Just now." Gu Zhaoxi looked at Yao Minjing and said with a serious expression, "Brother, I've long found that your disciple is a little unusual. If I'm not wrong, she might have the bloodline of the demonic tribe." The system broke down and said, "Isn't this guy a retard? Why does it seem like he's a different person all of a sudden?" Although the demonic tribe has been destroyed for a long time, the territory still exists. If she goes in and awakens her bloodline, her strength will definitely increase greatly, Gu Zhaoxi said. Jun Changshao asked, "Where is the demonic territory?" Back then, the top powerhouses of the 10 major immortal sects worked together to seal the demonic territory. Regarding its location, no one knows, Gu Zhaoxi said. Jun Changshao rolled his eyes and said, "That's as good as not saying anything." However, Gu Zhaoxi said, "There's a mysterious organization that should know where the demonic territory is sealed." "What organization?" "Buried Moon Pavilion." "The dark force that has been fighting with the Jia Hall for a long time?" "That's right." "Where are they?" "I don't know." "Patriarch." At this moment, Li Qingyang's voice rang in their ears. "Come out and see. There's a change in heaven and earth." Jun Changshao and Gu Zhaoxi hurriedly walked out of the secret realm and saw that in the west sky, rolling dark clouds gathered and formed a vortex. From afar, it looked like a huge chrysanthemum was blooming. It's appeared again. Outside the extreme cave abode, Zhenren Tonggu was also looking at the strange phenomenon. He shook his head and said, "That guy really thinks he can be resurrected? The destruction of the demonic tribe is a foregone conclusion. If he wants to forcefully reverse it, it's tantamount to going against the heavenly axiom," Masato Katano said. "This time, the reappearance of the demonic fate will probably attract a group of moths to the fire. Your disciple won't join in the fun, right? That guy's strength is too weak. He should know his own limits and won't deliberately send himself to death." Chapter 1454. A natural phenomenon, the birth of a supreme treasure? Jun Changshao, who was in the sect of all times, kept his eyes fixed on the western sky. Like a blooming chrysanthemum, his eyes gradually glowed. As a person who loved to join in the fun and seek death, he naturally would not let go of this good opportunity. "Brother," Gu Zhaoxi said, "this is not the birth of a supreme treasure. This is the opening of the demonic fate." "Demonic fate?" Jun Changshao was confused. Gu Zhaoxi explained, 100,000 years ago, before the demon ancestor of the demonic tribe fell, he opened up an independent space with his supernatural power and stored all his life's collection in it. Therefore it is called the land of demonic fate. Jun Changshao remembered that the demon emperor stored all kinds of martial arts in the demon valley. So he thought to himself, do people of the demonic path like to hide things before they die, and thus start a great era of searching in the future? Gu Zhaoxi said again, every 100 years, the demonic fate will open, and at that time, it will attract demonic cultivators from all over the world to their deaths. Their deaths? According to the statistics of the Realm Hall, only a single-digit number of martial artists who entered the land of demonic fate came out alive. So it is also called the land of demonic abyss. Those who came out alive all became successful in the future? No. Gu Zhaoxi said. They either died an unnatural death, or lost their minds and became crazy. Jun Changshao was speechless. Then what's the point of going in? I heard that the will of the demon ancestor exists in the land of demonic fate. If you can inherit it, it is equivalent to inheriting the entire demonic tribe, and you can command all the demonic cultivators in the world. Gu Zhaoxi said. Is that so? Jun Changshao was suddenly interested. Of course. Gu Zhaoxi said again. I also heard another version, that the land of demonic fate is an opportunity left behind by the demon ancestor to be resurrected. People can be resurrected after death? Jun Changshao was quite surprised at first, but when he saw the person in front of him, who had died in the lower realm and now had a different body and appearance, he suddenly realized that resurrection seemed to be a normal operation in this unscientific world. Gu Zhaoxi said, Brother, I heard that the demon ancestor of the demonic tribe had already entered the third step. It is still possible for him to be resurrected. Jun Changshao said in astonishment, That's a little impressive. The so-called third step referred to the divine arcanum, which was also the last level in the upper realm system. Those who had reached this level could transcend life and death, and would not be restricted by the heavenly axiom. That's not right. Jun Changshao said. Since you've already entered the third step, how can you still die? Because the 10 great immortal sects also have heavenly secret experts, Gu Zhaoxi said. All right. Jun Changshao asked again. Will the 10 great immortal sects just watch as the land of demonic affinity opens and wait for the demon ancestor to be resurrected? At first I was quite puzzled. Later, I found out that the land of demonic affinity, created by the demon ancestor, had established a connection with the upper realm's origin. If it was forcefully destroyed, it would shake the foundation, so the 10 great immortal sects did not dare to act rashly, Gu Zhaoxi said. Fuck, Jun Changshao said. That's a ruthless person. Brother, you know so much about the demonic tribe. Where did you find out about them? From the storyteller. Jun Changshao looked at the camera, the corner of his mouth twitching slightly, and said, Why do I feel that this source of information is not reliable at all? Brother, Gu Zhaoxi said. Didn't you just ask where the buried moon pavilion is? I can tell you with certainty now. This dark force will definitely go to the land of demonic affinity. Oh, Jun Changshao's eyes lit up. Yao Minjing's recent abnormal behavior made him realize that there might be some unstable energy in her body. So for his disciple's safety, he had to find a way to get rid of it as soon as possible. The buried moon pavilion was a branch of the demonic tribe, and they knew where the demonic territory was, so he could capture them and ask them. Let's go, Jun Changshao said. To the land of demonic affinity. The system was speechless. The host, who had been keeping a low profile for a while, is finally looking for trouble again. I wonder if Zhenren Tonggu is ready to take the blame now. We can't go. Why? Not a demonic cultivator. If a pure-blooded demonic cultivator leads the way, we should be able to sneak in. Patriarch. At this moment, Yao Minjing walked out of the space-time arcane realm, and looked at the chrysanthemum-shaped dark clouds gathering in the distance, and said, I want to go and take a look. Jun Changshao thought for a while and said, Okay. Huff. Huff. The chrysanthemum-shaped dark clouds gathering in the west started to rotate slowly like a machine. A strong demonic chi spread out, and it contained some kind of power, attracting demonic cultivators from all over the world. In the dark altar, the eyes of the black-robed elders sitting in the four directions of the boiling blood pool flashed with excitement. The opening of the land of demonic affinity, this time might be the opportunity for our ancestors' resurrection. Someone said worriedly, I'm afraid the realm hall will interfere. Humph, the leader sneered. The realm is closely related to the origin of the upper realm. They can only watch helplessly as our ancestor reappears in the world. All right. Have you found the new Khanate demonic body? Still looking. Pass down the order. There's no need to look. Let them go to the land of demonic affinity. They should be able to find it there. Yes. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, and demonic chi spread throughout the world, causing half of the upper realm to fall into a rather somber atmosphere. All the major sects entered a state of alert, because the opening of the land of demonic affinity was equivalent to a grand occasion for demonic cultivators. There was no telling what kind of trouble would occur. The Realm Hall even sent a large number of experts to the area, where the realm was open to monitor the demonic cultivators' every move, afraid that they would gather and cause trouble. Although only demonic cultivators could enter the independent space opened by the demonic ancestor, it still attracted many itinerant cultivators to come and watch the show. The past deeds of the demonic ancestor were dug up again, and became a hot topic. Demonic Affinity City, the city closest to the phenomenon. This used to be a very ordinary city. 100,000 years ago, the demonic ancestor opened up an independent space nearby with a supreme ability. Therefore, the demonic cultivators regarded it as a holy land, and even changed its name to Demonic Affinity. Nearly 80% of the permanent martial artists in Demonic Affinity City were demonic cultivators. The various businesses in the city were also related to demonic cultivators, such as martial arts, secret manuals, and so on. Demonic cultivators had strange personalities and bad tempers. Therefore, the city would often develop into a full-on brawl because of "What are you looking at? What are you looking at?" This was not the case. On the wide main street, there were several places where people rolled up their sleeves to fight. When the onlookers saw this, they would even clap and praise. Patriarch Li Qingyang, who walked past two demonic cultivators, frowned and said, "Demonic Affinity City is so chaotic." "It's normal," Jun Changshao said. "After all, it's a gathering place for demonic cultivators." Half a month after the phenomenon appeared, he brought a group of people to Demonic Affinity City. Accompanying him was his sworn brother Gu Zhaoxi, as well as the 5 core male disciples of the sect, Li Qingyang, Su Xiaoma, Xiao Ziji, Yi Xingchen, and He Wudi. Of course, there was also Yao Minjing. As the junior sister of the sect, she was protected in the middle by her senior brothers. "Brother," Gu Zhaoxi said, "the land of demonic affinity still needs some time to open. We can find an inn to rest first." Jun Changshao nodded, and was about to lead the group to an inn on the street ahead, when they were blocked by a few muscular martial artists. "This place has been sealed. Quickly take a detour." Boom! Suddenly there was an explosion. A few muscular men were sent flying, and then fell hundreds of feet away. They were in so much pain that they clutched their stomachs and rolled on the ground. Whoosh! Whoosh! Gu Zhaoxi was in a bombardment stance. His right fist gathered explosive power. His black hair danced in the wind as his eyes flashed coldly. "Remember, you must be polite when you speak to my brother." Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched as he mentally broke down. This guy's ability to cause trouble is not inferior to mine. Chapter 1455. Why were those burly men blocking the road? Because they were fighting with another group. In order not to be disturbed, they simply blocked the road. With Jun Changxiao's relatively low-key personality, he might not cause trouble and choose to take a detour. However, Gu Zhaoxi, who had followed him, was unhappy. "If you speak rudely in front of my brother, you will definitely be beaten." Therefore, not only did he send a few burly men who were blocking the way flying, he also knocked down the dozens of people who were fighting and stacked them into a mountain. Sitting on top of them, he lit an electronic cigar and said, "Brother, we can pass now." Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. "My brother is indeed a traitor. He has indeed fought with the Jia Hall before. His temper is irritable. As the saying goes, the soft is afraid of the hard, and the hard is afraid of the unreasonable." When Gu Zhaoxi dealt with the two groups of people blocking the road, the other martial artists on the main street immediately looked at him with fear. Who is this person? Judging from his decisiveness, he must be a ruthless character. The people who were beaten are disciples of the Chaos Black Sect and Extreme Abyss Black Sect. They definitely won't let this go. There's a show to watch. The land of demon affinity still needed some time to open. Therefore, the martial artists in Demon Affinity City naturally hoped to watch a good show when they were bored. Not long after the good show came. The Chaos Profound Sect, and the extreme abyss profound sect appeared on the main street, in an aggressive manner, before stopping in front of an inn at the same time. These two demonic sects had a feud with each other. It was like fire and water between the Sword Black Sect and the Sharp Blade Black Sect. However, they had temporarily put aside their feud and locked their target on the group of people who had just entered the inn. Therefore, the friendship between the sects depended on the help of the sect of all times. The people who beat up my sect just now, hurry up and come out. A fierce-looking middle-aged man from the Chaos Black Sect shouted in a deep voice. Revolving core realm. This is a big problem. Let's hide further away. The passers-by were worried that they would be affected and retreated far away. The nearby streets were suddenly empty, and the atmosphere was quite tense. Creak. At this moment, the closed door of the inn was pushed open. Thud. Ta. Li Qingyang, Xiao Zuiji, and the other four walked out in black robes. Then they stood in a straight line with their arms crossed. Hoo-hoo! A cold wind blew from the other end of the street, instantly sweeping up the leaves and dust. On the quiet street, the five of them faced off against over 100 people. It was a pity that Li Tiantian was not with them. Otherwise, he would have definitely recorded this scene and mounted it in the sect's library. TSK. The martial artists of the two sects immediately sneered. They had seen a lot of pretentious people, but they had never seen such a pretentious person. Elder, one of the martial artists said. It wasn't them who did it. It was a young man around 12 or 13 years old. The middle-aged man said indifferently, hurry up and hand over the culprit, or else. His eyes flashed with killing intent as he said, all of you will die here. Heh. Jun Changxiao's voice came from the second floor of the inn. You talk big. Gu Zhaoxi had attracted trouble the moment he entered the city. But don't forget that Go Sheng was not someone who was afraid of trouble. Since the two sects had come looking for him, he would definitely accompany them to the end. Therefore he lazily ordered, get rid of these annoying flies. Yes, Li Qingyang and the rest shouted in unison. They pulled off their black robes in unison, revealing the fashionable sect uniform with the word ancient carved on the chest. Ancient. Someone exclaimed. Sect of all times. That's the sect where the patriarch Jun Changxiao is Jinren Tonggu's personal disciple? That's right. Fuck a big shot. As the saying goes, when a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs ascend to the heavens. Go Sheng had an awesome master, so his status was still quite high in the eyes of ordinary martial artists. After confirming the identities of the five people in front of them, the Chaos Mystic Sect and the Extreme Abyss Mystic Sect's martial artists were horrified. They howled in their hearts. It's over, we've kicked an iron plate. Even the Lingwei True Sect did not dare to provoke Jinren Tonggu, let alone the two mystic demonic sects. Therefore, when Li Qingyang and the rest showed the uniform that represented the sect of all times, they were instantly stunned and terrified. What should they do? Whoosh, whoosh. Just as everyone was pondering, Yi Xingchen seemed to have transformed into a wild bull as he charged over. His first cycle revolving core cultivation erupted, causing the two sect elders to tremble in fear. Boom, boom, boom. A fight in the city began. 10 minutes later, the hundreds of demonic sect martial artists gathered outside the inn were either holding their stomachs and howling in pain, or lying on the ground, pretending to be dead. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the other four turned into black shadows as if demons had descended. Brutal. Heartless. The passers-by hiding in the distance exclaimed in their hearts. As a witness, if they were to use a word to describe the battle just now, it would be absolute suppression. Thud. The elegant Jun Changxiao walked out of the inn and sat on the chair that Xiao Ziji had prepared in advance. He interlocked his fingers and said, tie them all up and let the two sects pay the ransom. Yes, Li Qingyang and the rest tied up 100 people and temporarily locked them in the inn's stable. They also took away their interspatial rings in advance. The entire process could be said to be very skillful and professional. Brother, Gu Zhaoxi said, if it were me, I would definitely kill them all. Jun Changxiao shook his head and said, everyone is on the same path, so it's inevitable that there will be some friction. Sometimes, don't go too far. Understood. Although Gu Zhaoxi said that, he muttered in his heart, this brother of mine is a bit benevolent. Because it was a street fight, the news of the Chaos Sect and Extreme Abyss Sect being abused quickly spread throughout Magic Affinity City. Especially when the 5 people were disciples of the Sect of all times. It caused a huge commotion. Haha, these 2 demonic sects have kicked an iron plate. I heard that the young man sitting on the chair is the patriarch of the Sect of all times, Jun Changshao. Heroes indeed come from the young. Even the Realm Hall wouldn't dare to offend Senior Tonggu's personal disciple. This matter tells us that we can't be ostentatious outside, and we can't casually provoke black-robed martial practitioners, because who knows what great identity they have. While everyone was discussing, the representatives of the Chaos Sect and Extreme Abyss Sect came to the inn and sincerely prepared money to ransom them. Everyone. Jun Changshao was still sitting outside the inn. He said, 100,000 Xian stones per head. The upper echelons of the 2 sects were dumbfounded. Gu Zhaoxi, who was standing at the side, was also dumbfounded. 100,000 Xian stones. Wouldn't 100 heads be 10 million? Heavens, my brother is so evil. Of course. Jun Changshao said. This money may be a bit too much for you, but compared to the land of magic affinity that is about to open, it shouldn't be much. After all, every extra person that enters will increase the chances of obtaining opportunities. The upper echelons of the 2 sects had ugly expressions. Jun Changshao said again, if you miss this time, you'll have to wait another 100 years. Jun Patriarch. The Chaos Sect's upper echelon said, can it be cheaper? My sect really didn't bring that much money. Sure. Jun Changshao said, seeing that we're both sects, I'll give you a 9% discount. If you really don't have the money, you can write an IOU. 9%. The passers-by rolled their eyes and thought, this face is so cheap. The land of magic affinity might open at any time. And a large number of people were detained by the Sect of all times. After a difficult choice, the Chaos Sect and the Extreme Abyss Sect could only fork out 3 million Xian stones each and write an IOU for the rest. After everything was settled, Jun Changshao let them go and said with cupped hands, happy cooperation. The upper echelons of the 2 sects almost vomited blood. Seeing his brother earn 6 million Xian stones in a short time, Gu Zhaoxi's eyes flashed. He thought to himself, I learned it. I learned it. Chapter 1456. Jun Changshao was indeed very merciful, and did not kill the martial artists of the 2 sections. However, his heart was very black. He asked for 100,000 Xian stones per head, and easily earned a few million. Gu Zhaoxi was convinced. He deeply realized that money was actually so easy to earn. Brother. He clasped his hands and said in admiration, Brother, I have benefited today. Jun Changshao put his hand on his shoulder and smiled. Learn more from me. You will definitely not lack money in the future. Okay. Gu Zhaoxi's eyes lit up. Although he was not very interested in money, since it was so easy to earn, he would definitely give it a try. Sigh. The system sighed. Another person has been led astray, and is about to walk on a path of no return. The host is indeed a deceiving person. After the 2 sects paid the ransom, Magic Fate City suddenly became peaceful. There were very few martial artists fighting on the streets. The reason was that they were worried that they would accidentally provoke the Sect of all times, and be blackmailed for Xian stones. However, the next day Gu Zhaoxi, who was inspired by his brother, swaggered out of the inn and blocked 2 demonic cultivators who were shopping. He pointed at his nose and said, Come beat me up. Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma, who were following behind, almost fell to the ground. This martial uncle was a bit strange. The 2 demonic cultivators who were blocked were stunned, especially when they knew that the other party was from the Sect of all times. They definitely would not dare to attack, so they hurriedly chose to take a detour. Pa! Pa! Gu Zhaoxi grabbed their shoulders and said with a cold gaze, If you don't hit me, I will hit you. Domineering ruthless. Brother. One of the demonic cultivators was about to cry. We don't seem to have offended you, right? Stop talking nonsense. Gu Zhaoxi shouted. Hurry up and hit me. Facing such a strange request and being forcefully restrained, the two demonic cultivators had no choice. They could only raise their fists and lightly hit each other's chest. Thump, thump, thump. Gu Zhaoxi took a few steps back. He clutched his chest and said, "Such profound true qi. Your cultivation bases are not below mine." Li Qingyang's expression became interesting. Su Xiaoma couldn't help but complain in his heart. Martial uncle's acting skills are really too eye-catching. If he goes undercover, his identity will definitely be exposed in minutes. No. Gu Zhaoxi pretended to be in pain and said, "I'm already heavily injured. Give me 100,000 magnetite each as medical expenses." Not only had he learned Jun Changxiao's moves, but he had also modified them, using the excuse of being injured to extort medical fees. Sure enough, some people were very talented in certain aspects. The two fiendish cultivators immediately understood that they had been forcefully extorted. "Big brother, we don't have that many profound stones." Gu Zhaoxi had chosen the wrong target. After all, these two demonic cultivators did not belong to any sect, nor did they have any backing. Asking for 100,000 would definitely be an astronomical figure. How many? Only 1,000 profound stones. Then hurry up and take it out. Are you waiting for me to die on the spot? Here, here. The two demonic cultivators hurriedly handed over all the money in their pockets, then quickly left the scene of the accident while howling in their hearts. This world is too sinister. Gu Zhaoxi said delightedly. Money is really easy to earn. Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma looked at each other. They were on the verge of a mental breakdown. At least the sect leader said that there was a good reason for his actions. Uncle Master's actions are blatant extortion. Ouch. My foot. Gu Zhaoxi lay on the ground, both hands covering his boots with a pained expression. From his posture, it was obvious that he had been hit. The passing cultivators all stopped to take a look, and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This was because standing in front of that fellow was a 3 to 5-year-old child, holding a stick of candied hawthorn in his hand, and staring at him with wide round eyes. This uncle hit me. Why did he fall down? Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma, who were sitting in front of the tea stall, hurriedly turned their faces away, showing an expression that said, "We don't know this guy." "Brat! What are you looking at? Hurry up and pay." Woo! The child was immediately scared to tears. In just a short morning, Gu Zhaoxi had extorted more than 20 victims, ranging from the elderly to the young children. Inside the inn, Jun Changxiao stood at the window, looking up at the blooming dark cloud, and thought to himself, "When will it open?" "Soon," Yao Minjing said. "This disciple has already felt it." Oh, Jun Changxiao was rather surprised. Creak. At this time, the door was pushed open, and Gu Zhaoxi walked in excitedly. Then he drank a bowl of tea and grinned. "Brother, I made money." "How much?" 2 to 300,000 profound stones. TSK. Jun Chang praised with a smile. "Brother, you have talent." Patriarch. At this time, Li Qingyang sent a sound transmission from outside. "The inn is surrounded." Jun Changxiao hurriedly looked through the window and saw that the entire street was filled with martial practitioners dressed in all kinds of clothes. Among them, there were elderly men and young children. All of them were staring at the inn with righteous indignation. "What's going on?" Go Sheng was dumbfounded. Su Xiaoma hurriedly told him what happened in the morning. After learning of Gu Zhaoxi's forceful extortion, Jun Changxiao held his head and said, "Brother, you're screwing me over." "Fuck. You still dare to cause trouble." Gu Zhaoxi was about to jump down. Jun Changxiao hurriedly stopped him and personally walked out of the inn. He cupped his hands and said, "Everyone, my sect's disciple is in the wrong. I apologize on his behalf and return the extorted profound stones." The martial practitioners gathered outside the inn weren't strong. Li Qingyang and the others could take care of them with a finger. However, Gosheng wasn't an unpardonable villain, and the sect of all times wasn't an evil sect. Therefore, he definitely wouldn't take ill-gotten gains. Please remember, Jun Changxiao's worldview might be skewed sometimes, but he was still righteous when it came to certain matters. After the victims got their money back, They naturally didn't dare to make a fuss about it and left. Brother. After returning to his room, Jun Changshao advised earnestly, a gentleman extorts money in a proper way. Don't deliberately try to extort money in the future. Otherwise, if word gets out, it won't be good for the sect of all times and my master's reputation. Understood, Gu Zhaoxi said rather shamefully. I will definitely pay attention next time. The next day, the streets of demonic Affinity City were even more deserted than yesterday. Many martial practitioners hid in their residences and didn't dare to come out, afraid that they would be extorted by the sect of all time's disciples. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In the sky not far away from the city, the chrysanthemum-shaped vortex spun faster and faster. The outline of a door gradually took shape. Is this the demon gate? Jun Changshao thought to himself. He had already learned from Gu Zhaoxi that the entrance to the land of demonic affinity was a big black door. Only when it completely appeared and opened would it announce the opening of the fortuitous opportunity. Patriarch Yao Minjing said, I feel some kind of power summoning a disciple again. She wasn't the only one. When the outline of the demon gate gradually formed, all the demonic cultivators in the city felt it. The desire to enter the land of demonic affinity became stronger and stronger. Patriarch, Li Qingyang transmitted his voice. Martial uncle is fighting with someone else. No way. Jun Changxiao's face broke down. Did that guy run out to extort money again? Haha, the system said. The host's sworn brother is indeed a troublemaker. Chapter 1457. Half an hour ago, Gu Zhaoxi had nothing to do and was strolling on the streets. However, he behaved himself and did not deliberately try to extort money. However, just as he reached the city gate, he saw a group of tall horses with flames under their feet walking in. The martial practitioners on the horses were dressed in black robes, making it difficult to see their faces clearly. Jun Changshao also liked to wear black robes when he went out, mainly because he felt it was very cool. However, these people were different. They had their heads lowered, as if they had completely merged with the black of their clothes. A strong sense of mystery emanated from them. Big shots, Gu Zhaoxi muttered in his heart. Because he had been criticized by Jun Changshao, he did not plan to extort money. He planned to go somewhere else for a stroll. Hiss! The neighing of horses came, and the group stopped in front of him. The leader raised his head slightly, revealing an extremely cold face, and said, Get lost. These two words were emotionless, as if he was a professionally trained assassin. At this time, anyone with a bit of eyesight could tell that these people were definitely not easy to deal with. They would definitely run away, but the one standing in front of them was Gu Zhaoxi. He dismissed the idea of going somewhere else for a stroll. With his hands on his hips, he tilted his head and said, What did you say? Get lost. Boom! Gu Zhaoxi took a step forward and poured true spirit energy into his hand. He fiercely smashed the back of the tall horse, causing the latter's flesh and blood to fly. The expensive athlete's foot horse died just like that. Thump thump thump. The black-robed martial practitioner staggered and landed on the ground. He frowned slightly and said, So it's an expert. Old brother said that a gentleman extorts money in a proper way. You humiliated me just now, so you need to compensate me with 1,000,000 profound stones. Gu Zhaoxi said indifferently. These black-robed people's identities were definitely not simple. He had to demand an exorbitant price. Extorting money? The black-robed elder said gloomily. You're courting death. Whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, the dozen or so companions sitting on the tall horses flew down and surrounded Gu Zhaoxi with some kind of profound formation. These people's faces were pale, as if they had not seen the sun for many years. Their eyes were not only cold, but also flashed with an extremely strong killing intent. Without a doubt, they were demonic cultivators. Actually, there was no lack of scary-looking demonic Dao people in Demon Affinity City. However, to be able to be this demonic was still very rare. What is it? Gu Zhaoxi said indifferently. You want to outnumber me? All right, 1,000,000 for each head. Under the influence of Go Sheng's worldview, he could not wait for someone to take the initiative to find trouble with him. and then take the opportunity to earn a small sum of money. Set up the formation. The leading black-robed martial artist said coldly. Capture him. Shwa. Shwa. More than a dozen of his subordinates stepped out like a graceful dragon, and quickly formed complicated hand seals. TSK. Gu Zhaoxi sneered. Buzz buzz buzz. In an instant 5 realms of flowing light converged around him, forming a small cage that trapped him within. Some martial artists saw this from the windows of the buildings on both sides, and thought to themselves, this is definitely an expert. Ha ha ha. That little guy who tried to blackmail me yesterday has finally kicked an iron plate. Seeing Gu Zhaoxi trapped in the array formation, the martial artists hiding in the room were naturally overjoyed. They all agreed that evil people should be dealt with by evil people. This is troublesome. Li Qingyang on the other street saw this, and hurriedly sent a voice transmission. Patriarch, martial uncle is fighting with someone. Tisk. Gu Zhaoxi, who was trapped in the flowing light cage, smirked even more disdainfully. Then, he infused his qi of true spirit into his fists, and immediately began to bombard the barrier. His fists were as dense as a machine gun. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. However, after a series of explosions, the flowing light barrier was still standing in front of him unharmed. Fuck. Gu Zhaoxi's eyes flashed with anger. Previously, he was restrained by Empress Ling Yao's special mystique, and now he was trapped by a group of people. This made him very unhappy. Kid. The leading martial artist in the black robe said lightly. Even if you are strong enough to pierce through the sky, it is useless in front of the Nine Seal formation. Nine Seal formation. Gu Zhaoxi's eyes flashed with surprise. He had heard of this formation before. It was a formation created by a top demonic cultivator tens of thousands of years ago. However, after his death, it had been lost in the upper realm. Who are you? To be able to use the long-lost sealing formation, Gu Zhaoxi immediately judged that this was not something an ordinary person could do. Perhaps it was a powerful demonic cultivator. Look, as long as the author did not forcefully lower his intelligence, he still had some brains. The leading martial artist in the black robe was not interested in wasting time with him. He said lightly, shrink the formation. Swoosh. Swoosh. The subordinates scattered in different areas formed hand seals again. The cage-like barrier began to close in on the central area, and the space became narrower. Gu Zhaoxi naturally would not sit still and wait for death. He gathered his strength and attacked again. However, every time his strength came into contact with the barrier, it was as if his strength had melted into cotton. There was no damage at all. Swoosh. Swoosh. The 4 walls were getting closer and closer, and the space was getting narrower. There was no other way. Gu Zhaoxi looked up and shouted, "Brother, come and save me." Swoosh. As soon as he said that, the camera suddenly turned to the other side. Under the accompaniment of the super loud BGM, a colorful stream of light dragged an arc and burst out, sticking close to the ground. Watch out. Boom! The ceiling formation that was about to shrink to its limit was hit by an external force, and suddenly exploded on the spot. The aftershock of the explosion spread to several shops. Thump thump thump. The 10 or so martial artists who set up the formation retreated. After stabilizing themselves, they looked at the end of the street in front of them. Thud. Thud. At the place where the colorful stream of light was left, Jun Changshao strode over with 5 disciples. Among them, Yi Xingchen was responsible for changing the sound system. Swoosh. At this moment, Gu Zhaoxi rushed out of the explosion fog. His eyes were red like a demon as he pounced on the leading martial artist in the black robe. He shouted angrily, "Did I give you face?" Boom! His right fist, which was filled with anger and true spirit, directly hit the opponent's abdomen. It instantly caved in and his eyes widened. Bang! The clothes on his back burst and protruded out. The energy ripples were visible to the naked eye. Gu Zhaoxi's punch was quite powerful. Although the leading martial artist in the black robe was still standing in the same place, his internal organs were seriously damaged and directly turned from a full blood state to a residual blood state. Branch Master! More than 10 of his subordinates exclaimed, and were about to burst out with their cultivation and rush over. However, Just as they were about to move, they saw Jun Changshao appear in front of Gu Zhaoxi. He gently raised the desert eagle and pressed the muzzle against the leading martial artist's temple. He smiled gently and said, "Everyone, let's talk nicely." Although they didn't know what the shiny silver thing was, they could tell from the action that it was holding the branch master hostage. Thus, they all stood in place and didn't dare to act rashly. At this moment, the sharp-eyed Gu Zhaoxi noticed something hanging on the waist of the leading martial artist in the black robe. He took it down and checked it. He blurted out, "Brother, they're from Buried Moon Pavilion." Chapter 1458. Oh! Jun Changshao took the palm-sized token and found that there were no words on it. There was only a crescent moon carved on it, which looked a little eerie. He asked, "Are you sure? The Buried Moon Pavilion is the enemy of the Jia Hall. No one would dare to imitate it and use it to swindle others." Gu Zhaoxi said, "Moreover, only this mysterious organization can set up the long-lost demon Daorai." Jun Changshao believed him immediately and smiled. "I've searched high and low for it, only to find it by chance." Their main purpose in coming to Moyuan City was to capture people from the Buried Moon Pavilion and find the location of the sealed demonic region. Not only had they captured them, but they had also captured a branch leader. They should have real power and status in the organization. The Buried Moon Pavilion? No wonder it looks so scary. Gu Zhaoxi's voice was very loud just now. All the martial artists hiding in the room heard it, and their eyes were filled with fear. In the eyes of many demon cultivators, the Buried Moon Pavilion was a branch of the demonic tribe, so their demon Dao cultivation was more orthodox than theirs. "Humph," one of the martial artists in black said coldly. "Since you know who we are, why don't you release the branch leader quickly? Since the Buried Moon Pavilion dared to go against the Jia Hall, they must be a super powerful force. The various martial artists and sects would not provoke them, for fear of being set up in the future." Unfortunately, Jun Changshao had come for this organization. Since he had captured a branch leader, he would not let him go. He thought for a moment and said, "Do you know who I am?" "Who?" "Empress Ling Yao's people." When he said this, Jun Changshao's expression did not change. Gu Zhaoxi almost believed him. More than 10 black-robed martial artists' faces turned ugly. Empress Ling Yao represented the Jia Hall. He was her man, so he also represented the Jia Hall. Now that the branch leader was being held hostage, he would probably be brought back to face punishment. The situation was not good. For them to think this way, it was exactly what Gosheng wanted. That woman who tricked Yi Xingchen and instigated my sworn brother to be a spy. If I don't find an opportunity to make some arrangements, how can I live up to the title of the most handsome scheming king in history? Of course, such a cheap trick might not be able to cause any trouble for Empress Ling Yao. But Jun Changshao's plan was simple. "I'll play a little trick to disgust you. Who knows, maybe I'll get something out of it." It didn't matter how many tricks there were, as long as there were enough of them. They would be effective. Shua. A black-robed martial artist hurriedly took 2 steps back and raised something that looked like a fire starter, saying, "A cloud-piercing arrow, and thousands of soldiers and horses will come to meet us." Swish. Flowing light spurted out, shooting straight into the clouds. "Brother," Gu Zhaoxi hurriedly said, "this is the Buried Moon Pavilion's communication signal. I've heard the storyteller say that as long as the members within a radius of several thousand miles see the light, they will rush over as fast as they can." Jun Changshao had a mental breakdown. "Brother, the storyteller you're talking about can't be the all-knowing man in Jianghu, right?" Swish. Swish. Just then, from the 4 districts of Magic Affinity City, streaks of flowing light shot over. Some of them were waiters at inns, while others were passers-by. Powerful demonic qi gradually gathered around them, and they proudly hung crescent moon badges on their chests. That's right. They were all from the Buried Moon Pavilion. As a force that hid in the dark and fought with the Realm Hall, they would definitely not appear in the open. So most of their members hid in the streets. This was the most normal thing. Tisk tisk. Gu Zhaoxi said in surprise. So there are so many people from the Buried Moon Pavilion hiding in this city. Wait. Among the hundreds of people who came, there were more than 20 familiar faces. Uncle Master, Li Qingyang said in shock. You've scammed them before. That's right. Among the buried moon pavilion martial artists who flew over, many had been scammed before. For example, the 2 demonic cultivators who gave 1,000 magnetite stones, and the child who ate the candied haws. Of course, they looked very weak yesterday. Now that they wore badges and revealed their true identities, their bodies and eyes were instantly filled with powerful killing intent. The weakest of them was at the middle void-piercing realm. From this, it could be seen that their acting skills were superb. There were no flaws at all. Gu Xiaoxi turned stiffly to the camera and howled. Is there a setting where I'll definitely scam buried moon pavilion? Swoosh. Swoosh. The distress signal was still burning in the sky, but the street Jun Changshao was on was already surrounded by hundreds of buried moon pavilion members, and there were many outside the city who were rushing over. Killing intent everywhere. Tisk tisk. Jun Changshao said, isn't it just capturing someone? They actually caused such a big commotion. Brother. Gu Xiaoxi calmed down and said telepathically, the buried moon pavilion's strength is not bad. A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. Let's quickly take this guy away. If there were only a few hundred people standing on the street, he was not worried. He was only afraid that the other party would have reinforcements. If they sent a few 9th transformation cultivators, the situation would definitely be dangerous. Okay. Jun Changshao said, retreat. Since he had captured the person, he was not interested in fighting. The most important thing was to quickly take this branch leader away and interrogate him about the exact location of the demonic region's seal. What a pity. It was a little late, because outside demonic affinity city, 4 streams of light flew over from different directions and then floated above the street. 4 black-robed elders with bulging temples and cold gazes appeared. Whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. For powerful demonic auras spread wildly and instantly enveloped the entire city. The killing intent was intense to the extreme, as if it had instantly turned this place into hell. Brother. Gu Xiaoxi frowned and said telepathically, they're all 9th transformation cultivators. Jun Changshao thought to himself, as expected of an organization that dared to fight with the Realm Hall for tens of thousands of years. They can casually summon so many top-notch transformation core experts. The dozen or so black-robed cultivators who used the ceiling formation were not very strong. With Go Sheng and his brother's strength, they could easily beat them. But now that 4 9th transformation cultivators came, the situation immediately reversed. Brother, what should we do? Gu Xiaoxi was a little flustered. He was not worried about himself, but he was worried that Jun Changshao and his disciples would not be able to escape successfully. Swoosh. Go Sheng waved his hand and took out the pocket-sized hard-to-keep blade. He said, if there's no other choice, we can only start a massacre. He did not panic, because it was not like he had never encountered such a situation where he was surrounded by experts. In the end, if there was no other way, then he would crush the opening seal talisman and turn into a killing maniac. Moreover, after obtaining the modification stone of hard-to-keep blade, Jun Changshao had not upgraded. He was also considering whether the 3rd form could be used in the upper realm. Since there were so many people now, it was just nice to use it to test. What if it doesn't work? The system asked. It's fine, Jun Changshao said. I still have the escape talisman and flight talisman that the big gift gave me. The system was silent. Swoosh. Swoosh. Xiao. More members of the buried moon pavilion surged in from all directions outside the city. Some of them were powerful, and some of them were riding on flying treasures. In an instant, the number of people gathered in the sky above the street broke through from a few hundred to 1,000. The combined demonic chi pressed down, causing the residents in the city to tremble. The opening of the land of demonic affinity would definitely set off a new round of bloodshed. But who would have thought that it would happen before it even opened? The more people come. Jun Changshao played with hard-to-keep blade and thought, the more people die. Chapter 1459. More and more Buried Moon Pavilion martial artists gathered in Demon Affinity City. From the current situation, it seemed that there were more than 10,000 of them. Powerful demonic aura enveloped the entire city, causing the spectators to realize that a bloodbath was about to unfold soon. What should they do? Of course, they had to run away. Therefore, when the Buried Moon Pavilion people flew over, the martial artists inside rushed out of the city, afraid that they would be implicated in the fight. Jun Changshao sat on the street, playing with hard-to-keep saber in his hand. At this moment, he desperately hoped that more members of Buried Moon Pavilion would come. If he killed all of them, and spread the news in the upper world, he might be able to gain a lot of reputation points. Moreover, using hard-to-keep saber was a loss when there were few people. It was only a gain when there were many people. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others stood behind the patriarch. Facing thousands of Buried Moon Pavilion members, they were not afraid at all. Instead, they smiled calmly. This state of mind, Gu Zhaoxi secretly praised, too powerful. If he had witnessed the scene of Jun Changshao using hard-to-retract blade to kill, he would definitely have acted very calmly. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Violent demonic aura swept through the city. A great battle was about to break out. Kid, a Buried Moon Pavilion Rank 9 expert said coldly. Let go of branch leader Lu, and we can leave your corpse intact. Heh, Jun Changshao sneered. I can let him go, but you have to kneel down and kowtow. That Rank 9 expert's eyes were filled with intense killing intent. He said angrily, reckless guy. Whoosh, whoosh. The Buried Moon Pavilion members gathered in the sky released their cultivation. The intense demonic aura became even denser, as if it had turned into roaring ghosts. When there were many people on one side, aura suppression was the most effective. If the 100,000 disciples of the sect of all times were here, they would definitely release their aura to suppress the target. Otherwise, how could they show their strength in numbers? TSK. Jun Changshao snorted. It was not like he had not seen such a scene before. If they could intimidate him and his disciples with their imposing manner, wouldn't sect leader Wang, who was in heaven, laugh at them? Jun Changshao had a hostage in his hands. Although more and more people were gathering in the Zongyue Pavilion, they didn't attack immediately. Therefore, the two sides were in a temporary stalemate. However, just wasting time wouldn't solve the problem. Therefore, after the few ninth transformation stage experts exchanged glances, they immediately decided on a plan where two of them would be in charge of fainting, while the other two would be in charge of snatching the person away. However, just as they were about to make their move and Jun Changshao was about to crush the talisman to open the seal, the sound of footsteps could be heard coming from the corridor of the city gate. In the environment of devil qi and cold wind, the sound was originally very weak, but it seemed to contain some kind of power that penetrated everyone's eardrums and merged into the depths of their souls. Suddenly it became very rhythmic, very clear and loud. Everyone subconsciously turned their heads to look. Ta! Ta! The sound of footsteps was still coming from the dark passage. After a short while, a middle-aged man with disheveled hair in a slightly shabby robe walked out. This person's complexion was haggard, and there was a stone coffin on his back. The coffin was bound by heavy iron chains and special charms, and it looked a little frightening. Corpse carrier, Gu Zhaoxi said with a serious gaze. Ryu Sinan. As soon as he said this, the expressions of the Zongyue Pavilion members gathered in the sky changed drastically, and there was a look of fear in their eyes. Among them, there were 4 ninth transformation dance stage experts. Cough cough. The haggard middle-aged man gently took out a handkerchief, then covered his mouth and coughed a few times. He said in a bleak voice, "What a heavy devil qi." The handkerchief was exquisitely carved with patterns, and it was obviously for a woman. Seeing this, Jun Changshao felt a chill in his heart. He said, "This guy doesn't have any special fetishes, does he?" "I heard from the scholar," Gu Zhaoxi said. "The exquisite handkerchief that Ryu Sinan carries with him was used by his deceased wife when she was alive." Jun Changshao said in surprise, "Aren't upper realm cultivators single?" "He had a wife." Gu Zhaoxi looked at the stone coffin from this angle, and said with a serious gaze, She died for some unknown reason and was sealed in a stone coffin made of special materials. He carried her around the world all the time, so he was also called the corpse carrier. Fuck, Jun Changxiao's eyes widened. This guy really does have a special fetish. Little guy. At this moment Ryu Sinan, who was standing at the city gate, corrected him. My beloved wife is still alive, but she's temporarily in a deep sleep. Sooner or later, she'll wake up and accompany me forever. Gu Zhaoxi was silent. His wife was clearly dead, but he was still trying to numb himself. No wonder he was called the most infatuated man in the world by the upper realm. Brother, Jun Changxiao said. The Zhongyue Pavilion members seem to be very afraid of him. That's because of his other identity. What identity? The greatest nemesis of the devil path. One of the 3 great devil exterminators of the Jia Hall. Devil exterminator? This is a special profession that exists within the Jia Hall. They don't listen to the Hall Master's orders, and they only have one mission on a daily basis, which is to eradicate the devil path martial cultivators, who are heartless and do evil. Jun Changxiao understood. Brother, Gu Zhaoxi said. I'm afraid this person has already entered the truth-seeking realm. Is he that strong? Jun Changxiao was surprised. Previously, when the various clans surrounded the sect of all times, the Jia Hall had also sent people over, but they behaved submissively in front of Master, making him think that they were not very capable. In the end, a devil exterminator with a cultivation base of the truth-seeking realm came. The system said, the Jia Hall controls the upper realm. If they don't have strong combat power, how could they have existed for so long? That's true. Jun Changxiao's impression of the Jia Hall had changed. He thought that it was similar to the Navy headquarters, where a few general-level powerhouses might appear one day. Young man, Ryu Sinan looked at him and said, since you're Empress Lingyao's man, I won't let you be bullied. Jun Changxiao was a little confused. He had casually said something, and this guy believed him? Gosheng's brain reacted quickly. He quickly puffed out his chest and said, the Jia Hall is worried that the devil path will cause trouble when the land of demon affinity opens. So they sent me here to maintain stability. I see. Ryu Sinan's eyes showed a hint of understanding. Although he was a member of the Jia Hall, he had been out there punishing evil devil path martial cultivators all year round. Naturally, he could not tell Jun Changxiao's true identity. Of course, that was not important. What was important was that this person was surrounded by the buried moon pavilion that he had been investigating all this time. Whether from the perspective of a colleague or an outsider, he had to help him out, because this was the real. Boom! The heavy stone coffin fell to the ground. The cloak with the word chivalry carved on it fluttered behind his back. He combed his messy black hair with both hands, and his haggard face suddenly became energetic. Devil Exterminator Ryu Sinan is here to enforce the law. Devil Path villains surrender. Silence. Absolute silence. Because, when he changed his outfit, the buried moon pavilion members gathered in the sky above the street, including the 4 ninth transformation Dan realm experts, had already disappeared without a trace. Jun Changxiao was speechless. Brother, can you not pose when you're capturing people? Do you think you can escape? Ryu Sinan smiled coldly. He clenched his hands into fists and smashed them into the air. With a bang, the space suddenly rippled and quickly enveloped the entire demon affinity city, interweaving into a walk-shaped flowing light boundary. Fuck. Jun Changxiao's eyes widened. It's just as the storyteller said. Gu Chaonan said in shock. This guy has the spirit of space and can quickly seal off an area. Jun Changxiao said in his heart. Brother, where is this storyteller you mentioned? I really want to go and pay him a visit now. Whoosh. Lu Sinan spread out his hands as if he was grabbing the space. Then he clasped his hands together. The enchantment that permeated the city quickly shrank and bound the thousands of fleeing members of the buried moon pavilion together. They were squeezed face to face. Jun Changxiao said in shock. Awesome. Chapter 1460. He hammered the air with his fists, forming a barrier that resembled a plastic wrap. Then, he elegantly grabbed the fleeing members of the buried moon pavilion and tied them up. Jun Changxiao was immediately stunned by his actions. What shocked him the most was that he and his disciple were clearly also inside the boundary, but when the boundary closed, it flashed past and did not affect them. The system praised. This person's control of the power of space has already reached perfection. Amazing. Jun Changxiao's eyes were filled with respect. Without affecting the innocent, he caught all the members of the buried moon pavilion. Wait, the 4-9 transformation dance stage cultivators seemed to have slipped away. Sigh. Ryu Sinan shook his head and said, "For escaped." The corner of Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched, and he was speechless. If you didn't pose in the beginning, they wouldn't have been able to escape. Young man, Ryu Sinan said, "You're safe now." "Thank you for saving me." Jun Changxiao cupped his hands and said, "If such a powerhouse becomes a member of the sect of all times, it will be like adding wings to a tiger." Ryu Sinan looked up at the outline of the gate outside the city and said, "The land of demonic affinity is about to open, and people of the demonic path will come in large numbers. For your own safety, you should leave quickly." "Fuck. Does he think I'm weak?" The system said. "Compared to them, the host is indeed very weak." Jun Changxiao shook his head and said with a serious expression, "From the day I joined the Realm Hall, I made a vow that I will use my life to defend justice. Even if there is a mountain of swords and a sea of fire in front of me, I will go forward without hesitation." Every word and every action was a perfect display of his acting skills. Su Xiaoma, who was standing behind him, exclaimed in admiration, "Compared to the sect master, I'm so weak." "Brother, you're not really from the Realm Hall, are you?" Gu Zhaoxi muttered in his heart. "Young man." Ryu Sinan nodded and praised. "I admire you." "Brother Lu," Jun Changxiao said. "To tell you the truth, I've always hoped to become a man like you, who can slay demons. What kind of man am I if I can't even protect my own woman?" Ryu Sinan placed his hand on the sarcophagus, dispirited and haggard once again covering his entire face. Jun Changxiao thought. This is a man with a story. Who? Ryu Sinan put the sarcophagus back on his back, and pointed at the branch master bound by Gu Zhaoxi, saying, "I want to take this person with me." Jun Changxiao was at a loss. They had finally managed to capture a leader of the buried moon pavilion, with great difficulty. If he was taken away before they could even interrogate him, wouldn't all their efforts have been in vain? "Brother Lu." Jun Changxiao's brain spun as he said, "I serve the Jade Chestnut Maiden." At this point he stopped abruptly, because the seemingly real yet illusory gate in the sky had completely materialized. Strange lines gradually appeared on the rusty gate, outlining a huge, ferocious head that resembled a demon beast. Ryu Sinan turned around and frowned, saying, "It's about to open the gate." Whoosh! Suddenly, a black ripple visible to the naked eye spread out from the huge iron gate. Not only did it sweep across the entire city, it even extended for thousands of miles. Upon contact with the energy, Jun Changxiao immediately felt his mind being disturbed, but it quickly disappeared. Thus he asked in astonishment, "What happened just now?" "This is a demonic wave," Gu Zhaoxi said solemnly. "I heard that the scholar said that it can interfere with demonic cultivators." "Patriarch." At this moment, Li Qingyang pointed to the sky and exclaimed, "Junior sister is flying up." Jun Changxiao hurriedly looked up and saw Yao Minjing's eyes flickering with red light. A crescent moon pattern appeared between her brows as she approached the iron gate, as if she had lost her mind. "Let's go. What do we do with this guy? Bring him along." Whoosh! Whoosh! Jun Changxiao was the first to fly up. When he got close to Yao Minjing, he shouted, "Girl, what's wrong?" Yao Minjing didn't say anything. She stopped when she was about 10 feet away from the iron gate, and made a gesture that resembled a prayer. At this moment, the demonic cultivators that flew up also stopped. They surrounded the iron gate that was flickering with flowing light, and turned into devout believers. "Brother, what's going on?" "I don't know. Didn't the scholar tell you? He's not omnipotent. He's not omniscient." Jun Changxiao tried to call out to Yao Minjing, but the latter didn't listen at all. Instead, the flickering red light in her eyes became even more intense. Ryu Sinan said, "These demonic cultivators are delivering the power of faith. When a certain condition is met, the iron gate will open. I see. Jun Changshao came to a realization, but he was stunned and thought to himself, why is this guy here? Where are the members of the buried moon pavilion that we just captured? After the iron gate materialized, all the demonic cultivators within a radius of thousands of miles flew over. They gathered around and devoutly contributed the power of faith, causing the strange pattern on the door to become even more intense. When the demon ancestor was alive, he opened up an independent space and threw all the treasures in, thus starting the era of the Great Search. However, if the later generations wanted to obtain them, they had to gather faith to open the door. Jun Changshao said, "This design is a bit flashy." Ryu Sinan stood at the side with his arms crossed in front of his chest. The cloak with the word chivalry engraved on it rustled behind him. Where was the stone coffin? It was placed on the streets of the city and pressed against the space wrap that bound the members of the buried moon pavilion. In the extreme cavern, Zhenren Tonggu looked at the materialized demonic gate and said, "The gate is about to open. Let's hope it'll be the same as before and pass by peacefully," Masato Katano said. The land of demonic affinity appeared once every 100 years. Although it appeared many times and caused a huge commotion, no one had inherited the opportunities inside, so the entire upper realm was still relatively peaceful. All the major sects were also watching the demonic gate. After all, with such a huge commotion, it would be rude if they did not show some interest. "Master," on a cloud-shrouded mountain peak, a stooped old man said, "Jun Changshao is there too." Empress Lingyao said, "With him around, I'm afraid something will happen when the land of demonic affinity opens." The camera returned to the sky outside the city of demonic affinity half an hour later. The number of demonic cultivators from all over the world had reached hundreds of thousands, densely surrounding the Iron Gate. Perhaps because Ryu Sinan was beside them, no demonic cultivators dared to get close. Hence, the area where Jun Changshao and the others were at was particularly eye-catching. Crack! Just then, a crisp sound was heard. The tightly shut iron gate shook slightly, and then a crack appeared at the bottom. "It's open," Ryu Sinan said solemnly. He released his spiritual senses to capture all the demonic cultivators around, afraid that they would lose their minds and cause a serious stampede. Boom boom! Boom boom boom! The iron gate shook frequently, and then slowly opened from the bottom to the top. As the gap widened, a chilling wind blew from inside. Boom! After a while, the iron gate opened completely. Because of the vortex, they could not see what was inside. "Patriarch," Yao Minjing said, "we can go in now." "Huh." Jun Changshao was a little dumbfounded. This girl's eyes were still red, as if she was controlled by some power. How could she still be conscious and speak? Huff huff. Just then, Yao Minjing opened her arms, and demonic qi emerged from her body, quickly enveloping the patriarch, Li Qingyang and the others. "Let's go." Whoosh! Everyone was dragged by her, and then quickly merged into the vortex of the gate. Ryu Sinan did not follow, because he was not a demonic cultivator, and had no interest in finding opportunities. Instead, he raised his chin and said, "That girl just now felt a little different from other demonic cultivators." Chapter 1461. The huge iron gate that was flashing with flowing light was like a ball of fire, attracting thousands of demonic cultivators to enter. To them, this was a once-in-a-century opportunity. They were not afraid, even if they had to sacrifice their lives for it. Ryu Sinan stood in midair, watching the demonic cultivators enter like moths to a flame. He could not help but sigh in his heart. The hardest thing to control in the world is desire. Yes, the land of demonic affinity had opened countless times, but no one had obtained the opportunity. Some had even died. However, it could still attract a large number of martial artists. This was the terrifying part of desire. Swish! Swish! At this moment, dozens of flowing lights flew over from afar and entered the vortex of the iron gate at the fastest speed. Ryu Sinan thought, did the Zongyue Pavilion send their higher-ups in again? Whoosh! Whoosh! After another 10 minutes, The hundreds of thousands of demonic cultivators gathered around all flew in. The iron gate first surged with a majestic demonic aura, then slowly closed from top to bottom. A heavy voice sounded. My treasure will be obtained by the fated. Cold and ruthless. Although these words would be said every time the door closed, Ryu Sinan still felt fear. He thought, how strong was the demon lord back then? The heavy voice spread throughout the entire upper realm. Junrin Tonggu and Masato Kitano, who were not present, also heard it. Both of them had a special feeling. Although they had heard it countless times, they could hear a different meaning each time. Even a sentence sealed for 100,000 years contains some kind of profound meaning. Perhaps this is the strength of the third step. The desire for a higher realm rose in their eyes, but there was also some helplessness. Since ancient times, there were very few powerhouses who could reach that level. Some realms could not be achieved with talent and time. Therefore, the two brothers had been stuck at the peak for a long time. They had long calmed down. When they had nothing to do, they played chess and regretted it. Their days were very comfortable. Swish, swish. Jun Changxiao and the others, who were shrouded in demonic aura, appeared out of thin air. Then, they found themselves in a dark and desolate environment. Patriarch Yao Minjing said, "We're in." Jun Changxiao steadied himself and found that he and his disciple were in the middle of a dry, barren land. There was a crescent moon floating in the sky, which was exactly the same as the pattern on the girl's forehead. It's a little cold. Su Xiama crossed his arms. This kind of coldness wasn't like the coldness of Lu Qianqian's ice attribute. Instead, it was a coldness that came from the depths of one's soul. Perhaps it was because the surroundings were filled with boundless devil qi. Fortunately, although the barren land was full of strong devil qi, it was not the kind that affected the soul of the devil fog forest. Although everyone felt uncomfortable, they could still bear it. Swish, swish. Not long after Jun Changxiao and the others entered, demonic cultivators appeared one after another in the void. Clearly, they were the ones who entered later. Brother, Gu Zhaoxi asked, where do we go from here? Jun Changxiao was speechless. I was the one who wanted to ask you that. Gu Zhaoxi scratched his head and said, it's my first time here. The land of demonic affinity was an opportunity prepared by the demon ancestor for demonic cultivators. Orthodox martial artists usually wouldn't join in the fun, because they might lose their lives. It could be said that the demonic cultivators who entered later had done their homework before coming, and could be considered prepared. On the other hand, Jun Changxiao and the others were complete newbies. Their current state was, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Hey! Gu Zhaoxi lifted the black-robed elder and asked, do you know? The buried Moon Pavilion branch leader didn't speak. He who had been punched was currently in a severely injured state. Even if he knew, he wouldn't be able to speak. Brother. Seeing that the other party didn't speak, Gu Zhaoxi said, this guy is a burden. Why don't we just kill him? Jun Changxiao said, he's still useful. Yes. Gu Zhaoxi slapped his forehead and said, we can use him to blackmail the buried Moon Pavilion. Jun Changxiao was speechless. Could it be that in the eyes of my brother, I only want to blackmail? The system said, what else? Carrying an injured person was indeed a bit of a burden. So Jun Changxiao threw him into the Tianyuan prison pagoda with a wave of his hand, and handed him over to the prison trio. Doubt a little Louis, Arya shouted. Guests are here. It was difficult to measure the size of the land of demonic affinity. However, with hundreds of thousands of demonic cultivators gathered here, it didn't seem crowded. This was enough to show that this independent space was quite large. After entering, everyone didn't move around casually. They continued to pray like devout believers. Patriarch, what should we do? Follow them. Okay. Jun Changxiao and the disciples followed suit and stood in the barren land, fully demonstrating what it meant to make up the numbers. Buzz! Buzz! About an hour later, the dark space suddenly trembled. Then, 10 stone doors appeared out of thin air in a higher area in the distance. From the order they were arranged, it seemed to contain some kind of profound meaning. It's here! It's here! Someone said excitedly. The door of opportunity left by the demonic ancestor. The hundreds of thousands of demonic cultivators gathered around all had a greedy luster in their eyes. Some even began to walk towards the stone doors. There were many people. There were only 10 doors. In order to get in faster, everyone went at full speed. There were bound to be collisions during this period, so it directly evolved into a chaotic battle. If I can't get in, you can't get in either. Whoever dares to stop us will die. Brothers, let's get in. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, in front of the 10 seemingly indestructible stone doors, all kinds of brilliant martial arts flashed. Jun Changxiao was speechless. They're fighting just like that? Patriarch, Yao Minjing said. There must be some kind of opportunity behind the stone doors. Should we go in? We have to go in, but... Jun Changxiao stroked his chin and said, there might not be opportunities in all 10 stone doors. There might be traps in 9 of them. Gu Zhaoxi pointed at a few demonic cultivator groups gathered together in the distance and said, they haven't moved yet. They should be considering that door. Get lost. At this moment, a deafening roar came from the stone door. The demonic cultivators who were fighting stopped one after another. When they saw that the person who spoke was the fierce-looking Scarface, they all made way for him. This was a powerhouse that no one could afford to offend. Scarface led his subordinates to the second door and said coldly, the door won't disappear. What are you guys so anxious for? Everyone muttered in their hearts, the door won't disappear. We can enter at any time, but the opportunity is different. It'll be gone once it's taken away. Swoosh. Scarface led his subordinates in first. At the same time, powerful demonic cultivator groups also chose the stone doors one after another. In a short while all 10 stone doors had people entering. There might be traps waiting for them inside, but under the great temptation of the opportunity, even if it was a mountain of blades or a sea of flames, they still had to try. Because the various demonic cultivators had moved first, the other demonic cultivators calmed down and began to line up to enter. Patriarch, Yao Minjing said, which door do you choose? Seeing the others enter one after another, she started to get a little anxious. Jun Changxiao wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he slowly took out a compass from his space ring and thought to himself, can a treasure detector be used here? The system said, you're taking the sword of the previous dynasty to kill the officials of this dynasty. Buzz! At this moment, the compass suddenly flashed with light after he injected his thoughts into it. Then it started to spin rapidly and finally stopped at a certain direction. As expected, Jun Changxiao said happily, it's useful. The system explained forcefully, regardless of the previous dynasty or the current one. As long as the sword is sharp, it can be cut down. Jun Changxiao realized that the directions given by the compass were not the 10 stone doors, so he said in surprise, could they all be traps? Chapter 1462. Jun Changxiao was very surprised that the treasure finder, which was purchased in the lower realm and used in the planar battlefield, could be used in the land of demonic fate. What was even more surprising was that the position shown did not point to the 10 stone doors, which meant that there was nothing inside. Since that was the case, why did he put it out? Wasn't the demon ancestor, who created the treasure finder, deliberately tricking people? As expected, Jun Changxiao thought, the world of the top powerhouses is really hard to understand. It's very normal. The system said, if it's so easily found, then it's not called a treasure finder. It's called a cabbage on the street. So if the later generations want to obtain the inheritance, how can they not pay a huge price? For example, if the host knows that he's about to die and needs someone else to inherit his martial arts, he will definitely set up a complicated treasure finder to make things difficult for them. Are you cursing me to die? Analogy. Jun Changxiao said, if it were me, I would definitely set up this treasure finder to be more interesting, and not be old-fashioned and let the later generations choose. Although he was talking with the system, he was not idle in reality. After carefully observing the position of the treasure finder, he led the disciples in the opposite direction of the stone door. Patriarch, Yao Mingyao was puzzled. Where are we going? Don't talk. Jun Changshao said, "Just follow." Yao Minjing hurriedly shut her mouth. Even though she had 100 question marks in her heart, she did not say it out loud. Li Qingyang and the others were not demonic cultivators, so their mentality was very normal. They did not care about where the patriarch took them. "Brother." Gu Xiaoxi looked at the treasure finder and said, "What is this thing?" "Treasure finder." Jun Changshao said, "Master gave it to me." Gu Xiaoxi looked at him with envy. After wandering in the upper realm for so long, he had always been working hard by himself, without any master to help him. "Brother, I'm jealous." The treasure finder's position on the compass was in the northwest direction, so Jun Changshao led them all the way. After walking for about an hour, the frequency of the light flashing increased, which meant that they were very close to the treasure finder. Strange. It's clearly very close, but why is there nothing? Jun Changshao was still in the barren land, surrounded by nothing but moonlight and devil qi. Buzz. However, after taking a few more steps, he seemed to have touched an invisible barrier, and the space suddenly rippled. Swish! Swish! Suddenly, an even bigger stone door appeared before them. Thick demonic energy blew out from within, causing Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji and the others to shudder involuntarily. Jun Changshao lowered his head and looked at the compass. He found that the frequency of the light was increasing, so he said happily, "It should be inside." "Go." Everyone entered one after another. At this moment, the demonic cultivators who were queuing up in the distance also noticed that there was an even larger stone door behind them. After a short moment of consideration, they immediately rushed over. As expected, a black-robed old man said, "There's a hidden door." In the previous opening of the land of demon affinity, many demonic cultivators entered and very few came out. However, after countless times, they would eventually sum up their experience. Therefore, whether the 10 stone doors had any opportunities or not had always been a matter of speculation. Now, Jun Changshao cheated by using the treasure detector and activated the invisible hidden door, which confirmed many people's speculations. Behind the stone door was a long tunnel. The walls were crimson red, as if they were painted with blood. Jun Changshao led the disciples in, but with every step they took, the depths of their souls seemed to be eroded by some kind of energy, and they began to feel lightheaded. "Brother," Gu Xiaoxi said in shock, "the demonic energy here will disturb the mind. Don't be careless." Swish. Before he finished speaking, he had already lost his mind. When he came back to his senses, he found himself in a forest with birds singing and flowers fragrant. "What's going on? I felt like I was in a dream just now." Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others were also nearby. They looked at each other puzzled. "Wait, where are the patriarch and junior sister?" Everyone was in the forest, but Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing were nowhere to be seen. "Don't worry." Gu Xiaoxi closed his eyes, and after sensing for a while he said, "This isn't reality. This is a dream." "A dream?" Everyone was stunned. Gu Xiaoxi said, "The demonic energy just disturbed our minds and brought us to an illusory scene. The patriarch and that girl didn't come in, so they must have resolved it beforehand." Boom. Suddenly, Yi Xingchen punched Su Xiaoma in the stomach and said, "Does it hurt?" "It doesn't hurt. It really is a dream." "No, can't you just hit yourself? Why do you have to hit me?" Just as Gu Xiaoxi guessed, they had already fallen into some kind of dream. In reality, they were standing in the tunnel like wooden chickens. Phew. Standing to the side, Jun Changshao exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He wasn't disturbed by the demonic energy, because Xiao Hua and little Xia had worked together to suppress the demonic energy in his mind. It's over. They've been tricked. Seeing Gu Xiaoxi, Li Qingyang, and the others' lifeless eyes, Jun Changshao was about to step forward and take their pulse so that little Xia and Xiao Hua could resolve it. But he suddenly discovered that Yao Minjing, who was standing in the middle, was crying. "Damn it! You actually made my cute disciple cry. Unforgivable." Jun Changshao walked over and put one hand on Yao Minjing's pulse. He was about to use his 2 spiritual bodies to help her break free from the demonic energy, when a buzzing sound came from his head, and he was instantly dumbfounded. A moment later, he seemed to have awoken from a dream, and suddenly found himself standing under the setting sun. He slowly raised his head, and saw a dilapidated building in front of him, and the words Iron Bone could be vaguely seen on the broken plaque. Boom! Jun Changshao felt as if he had been struck by lightning, and he was instantly dumbfounded, because that dilapidated building was the Sect hall that had been modified by Li Qingyang many times. He turned his head stiffly, and realized that he was standing on a drill ground. The surrounding buildings had been destroyed, and the corpses of his disciples were strewn all over the place. Their blood had converged into a river. Jun Changshao felt as if his heart had been viciously stabbed by a sharp blade, and his entire face gradually twisted. Who is it? Who destroyed my sect? Jun Changshao's blood seemed to have been set ablaze, and endless flames of fury erupted from his body as he brought out all of his trump cards, such as the unstoppable saber and the stone statue. At that moment, standing in the dilapidated sect under the setting sun, he was like an enraged demon that could plunge the entire world into eternal darkness at any moment. Host, calm down. Right at this moment, the system's voice sounded in his ears. This is a dream. Dream? I'm having a nightmare, the system said. To be precise, the host is in Yao Minjing's dream. Wah! Suddenly, the sound of crying came from beside his ears. Jun Changshao, who had calmed down, hurriedly turned around and saw Yao Minjing kneeling in a pool of blood, hugging Lu Wansher's corpse. Her tears fell like rain as she cried, "Senior sister, wake up!" Although the system had reminded him that it was only a dream, seeing this scene, his heart still felt an intense pain. Ta! Right at this moment, a person in a black robe walked over and stopped in front of Yao Mingyao. His voice was cold as he said, "Crying is a coward's behavior. Stand up and follow me." Who are you? Someone who can change your fate. I'm not leaving. I want to wait for the patriarch to return. That guy is already dead. You are the only survivor of the sect of all times. The black-robed old man was a little impatient. He used energy to envelop Yao Minjing, and whether she agreed or not, he wanted to forcefully take her away. However, just as he was about to fly away, a hand suddenly pressed down on his shoulder. Old man! Jun Changshao stood behind and said with a cold face, "Let go of my disciple." The black-robed old man turned around in shock and said, "You, how can you enter other people's dreams?" "I'm very curious," Jun Changshao said. "How can you enter?" Shua. Suddenly, he threw the black-robed old man over his shoulder and pressed him to the ground. Then, he channeled energy into his fist and shouted angrily, "Whether it's reality or a dream, whoever dares to bully my disciple, I will definitely kill him." Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. Although it was a dream, the fight was very real. Every punch hit the flesh. There was only one word to describe it: awesome. After a series of explosions, the mysterious black-robed old man was instantly beaten into a wisp of demonic energy. The surrounding space immediately collapsed, and the two of them instantly left the dream and returned to reality. What happened? Yao Minjing said with tears in her eyes. "Ah, Patriarch, why are you riding on martial uncle?" In the dream, Jun Changshao was beating up the black-robed old man. In reality, he was grabbing Gu Zhaoxi and beating him up. The latter's mind was currently in the dream, but his body was beaten black and blue. No wonder it was real. No wonder every punch hit the flesh. Chapter 1463. The black-robed old man appeared and gathered his energy to envelop Yao Minjing and take her away. Jun Changshao couldn't help but walk over. He didn't care if it was a dream or reality. He would never allow anyone to take his disciple away. What surprised him was that although he appeared in the dream as a bystander, he could actually touch the other party. What did this mean? Both he and the old man were real. "You, how can you enter someone else's dream?" The black-robed man's words immediately made Jun Changshao certain that the former also broke into Yao Minjing's dream, so he beat him up without saying anything. Looking at Gu Zhaoxi, whose face was swollen and whose eyes were still dazed, a trace of shame appeared on Go Leftover's face. Then, He hurriedly helped him up and placed him beside the disciple again, pretending that nothing had happened. Patriarch, I just had a nightmare. Yao Minjing wiped her tears and said. She seemed to have not recovered yet, and her words had a sobbing tone. It's just a dream, Jun Changshao said. Don't think too much. The system said. The black-robed man that the host beat up just now is probably the culprit that made disciple fall into the dream. What a pity, Jun Changshao muttered to himself. It got away. Leading his disciple into the dream, then putting on a show of the sect being destroyed, and finally taking her away, there must be a plan. Shua! Shua! At this moment demonic cultivators caught up from behind. Without exception, they were all disturbed by the demonic aura, and then lost consciousness. They stood in place, and their eyes gradually became dull. Jun Changshao ignored them, and went to Gu Zhaoxi and his disciple. He released the fire spirit and evil spirit power to dispel the demonic aura that controlled their mind. Huff huff. Huff huff huff. A moment later, everyone broke free from the dream and gasped for breath. They entered the same dream. At first, it was a forest full of birds and flowers. But then a large number of powerful beasts appeared, and they were forced to fight. Especially Gu Zhaoxi. He fought hundreds of beasts alone. In the end he was beaten up and felt pain all over his body. Ouch! After freeing himself from the dream, he covered his face and said, It hurts. Martial uncle, why is your face swollen? Su Xiaoma asked. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji looked over at the same time, a trace of confusion in their eyes. In the dream, they had also been attacked by demonic beasts, but when they returned to reality, there were no changes to their bodies. Why was martial uncle so severely injured? And it seemed like they were all greeting his face? That's not right, Gu Zhaoxi wondered. Why am I the only one injured? Jun Changshao pretended not to hear, then turned to look at the group of demonic cultivator who had just entered, and said, These people have also fallen into a dream. Plop! Suddenly, a demonic cultivator fell to the ground, his eyes gradually losing their luster. Gu Zhaoxi said, Dead! Swish! At this moment, a black stream of light emerged from Yuwen's corpse, and then instantly merged into the stone wall and disappeared. Jun Changshao immediately frowned. This attribute had also appeared after he had beaten up the black-robed old man. Plop! Plop! More and more demonic cultivators fell to the ground and lost their vitality. Black streams of light flew out from their bodies and merged into the wall like ghosts. Understood, Gu Zhaoxi observed for a while and said, This is a method of the demonic Tao called dream soul reaping. The black streams of light that flew out are their souls? That's right. Hearing this, Jun Changshao's face suddenly became extremely cold. Just now in Yao Minjing's dream, the black-robed old man took her away. Could it be that he took away her soul? Fortunately, he had gone in and stopped it in time. If the girl had followed him, she would have become a corpse. What a vicious method, almost causing his disciple to lose her life, completely infuriating Jun Changshao. However, Gu Zhaoxi said, Dream soul reaping only works on demonic cultivators. Even if orthodox martial artists fall into a dream, their souls will not be taken away. Plop! Plop! One by one, the demonic cultivators fell to the ground, and their souls flew out of their bodies. Jun Changshao wanted to stop it, but he couldn't touch the black attribute at all. He could only watch as they lost their vitality. Let's go. Let's continue forward. Since they had come to the land of demon fate to seek opportunities, they had to be prepared to die. Go Sheng would not be merciful, and used two types of spirit bodies to resolve their crisis. Firstly, it would consume too much energy, and secondly, there were too many people. Brother, Gu Zhaoxi said as he walked. Placing the dream soul reaping here is not as simple as setting up a trap to increase the difficulty. It is obviously to take people's souls. Could it be that there is an ulterior motive? I heard from the scholar that the other reason why the demonic ancestor created the land of demon fate was to pave the way for his own resurrection. With the dream soul reaping here, perhaps gathering a large number of demonic cultivator souls to revive himself? That's right. Jun Changshao fell into a short silence and said, If that's the case, then demonic cultivators who come to seek opportunities are actually entering a tomb prepared for themselves in advance. As they talked, they walked to the end of the tunnel and entered a relatively spacious space. Then, they were stunned by the scene in front of them. This place was a bit like a palace. The ground was paved with high-quality stone slabs. There were stone statues of some kind of demonic beast heads on the four walls. They all opened their mouths and spat out red water. It was very fishy and pungent. Blood, Gu Zhaoxi said. It's all the blood of demonic cultivators. Why was he so sure? Because martial artists who cultivated the demonic path had demonic qi energy in their blood. It could be detected with just a little bit of consciousness. There were a total of 10 demonic beast heads in the palace, so there were 10 spots where blood was spurting out. The scene presented was really creepy. The blood is warm, Jun Changshao said. Just died not long ago? Yiwudi looked carefully at the 10 demonic beast heads and said, the 10 stone doors we saw earlier all had similar patterns. Could it be? He didn't continue, but everyone understood where the blood came from. Splash, 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 splash. The blood of demonic cultivators fell into the water trough, and then surged along a fixed route, finally being transported to a huge blood pool in the central area. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others were experienced, but when they saw the large pool of blood, they suddenly had the urge to vomit. Jun Changshao walked over and found that there was a luxurious throne made of special materials at the north of the blood pool. There were complicated patterns on it, and an exquisite box was placed on it. Brother, Gu Zhaoxi said, this throne is probably worth a lot. We can take it with us before we leave. That's what I was thinking. The two of them looked at each other and smiled brightly. Patriarch. At this moment Li Qingyang shouted, Junior sister is going up. Jun Changshao and Gu Zhaoxi hurriedly turned around and saw that Yao Minjing had stopped in front of the throne. Then she picked up the box and sat down. Her face seemed to be in a daze, and her eyes were flashing red. Hum. In the outside world, the tightly shut iron door suddenly shook. Jinren Tonggu hurriedly looked up. While Masato Katana was also looking, he waved his hand and messed up the chessboard saying, What's going on? Kikik. Kik. Suddenly, strange laughter came from the iron door, followed by a voice that shook the sky. 10 immortal sects, all the major clans, your nightmare has come again. Not good. Jinren Tonggu and Masato Katano exclaimed at the same time. The demonic ancestor has been resurrected. Puchi. At this moment, a red-crowned crane flew over from afar and delivered some information. Masato Katano's mouth twitched. I just received news that your disciple Jun Changshao has brought a few disciples into the land of demonic affinity. What? Jinren Tonggu's eyes widened. Then he angrily flipped the chessboard and roared. He's not a demonic cultivator. What's he doing there? Chapter 1464. Sinister laughter and voices suddenly rang out from within the demon gate, causing the entire upper world to boil. The nightmare of the 10 major immortal sects and the various races? All the martial artists subconsciously thought of the demonic tribe that they had joined forces to destroy. Could the land of demonic affinity really be used to revive the demonic ancestor? Jia Hall. Several higher-ups stood outside the main hall frowning. It's still here. The upper world will never have peace again. Should we inform the immortal sects? Let them send someone to stop it. The land of demonic affinity is connected to the origin of heaven and earth. If it could be stopped so easily, it would not have existed for so long. The revival of the demonic ancestor was a serious problem, but the Jia Hall could not make the necessary arrangements, because all of this was planned by the other party. If there was a possibility of revival, no one could stop it. Master. In the majestic palace, the hunchbacked old man said solemnly, the demonic ancestor is about to be revived. Empress Lingyao said, as expected, as long as that guy goes in, there will definitely be changes. The land of demonic affinity had existed for 100,000 years. During this period, it had opened and closed many times without any major changes. Now that Jun Changshao had gone in, the demonic ancestor was revived. This was too much of a coincidence. Chaos. Empress Lingyao said. The upper world is going to be in chaos. The Jia Hall is going to have a headache. The hunchbacked old man said. Not only that. Empress Lingyao said. The 10 major immortal sects will probably not sit still. After all, a top powerhouse like the demonic ancestor can bring absolute disaster to the entire world by himself. Demonic Affinity City. Lu Sinan hung in the air, his brows tightly knitted together. Not only did he hear the voice, but he also heard it more carefully than others. Especially when he felt the power contained within, his state of mind was immediately affected. He exclaimed, just how strong was the demonic ancestor when he was alive? Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The huge iron gate hanging in the sky shone brightly, and a majestic demonic aura was released, as if it was going to engulf the entire world. Whoosh! Ryu Sinan spread out his arms, and the space spirit erupted. Layers upon layers of materialized barriers enveloped the huge iron gate, preventing the demonic chi from spreading irregularly. He came to Demonic Affinity City because he was worried that the demonic cultivators would riot. Now that the demonic lord was about to be resurrected, as a demonic exterminator, he had to do his best to stop the demonic cultivators. As for whether he could succeed or not, it was no longer within his consideration. Swish, swish. Just as the space enchantment was formed, streams of light suddenly flew over from all directions. Judging from the aura they emitted, their strength was not below Ryu Sinan's. A moment later, 10 dignified old men in different outfits appeared outside the huge iron gate. Their turbid eyes gradually sharpened. So strong! Ryu Sinan was shocked. He couldn't figure out the strength of these people. They had probably reached the peak of the truth-seeking realm. Swish! Swish! At this moment, 2 more streaks of light flew over at high speed. Jinren Tongu Masato Kitano, a white-haired old man said lightly. Why are you here too? Ryu Sinan was shocked. What? Jinren Tongu said unhappily. This is the territory of the 10 major celestial sects. You don't allow us itinerant cultivators to come in at will? 10 major celestial sects? Ryu Sinan's eyes widened. No wonder these 10 people were so powerful. It turned out that they were the powerhouses of the 10 major celestial sects. Top itinerant cultivators and powerhouses of the celestial sects. Outside the small demonic affinity city, it could be said that the big shots had gathered. However, this was just the beginning. In the next hour, powerhouses from all over the world arrived one after another. They were all from Dao sects, and their strength was all in the truth-seeking realm. The Realm Hall contacted them? No, the 10 major celestial sects contacted them. Since the land of demonic affinity was an opportunity to resurrect the demonic lord, and because it was related to the origin of heaven and earth, they couldn't enter to kill the danger in the cradle. However, they could wait outside for him to come out. The expression on Ryu Sinan's face became interesting. In terms of seniority, he belonged to the second generation in the upper realm. Jinren Tongu, and the powerhouses of the celestial sects were the first generation. Now those outside the demonic gate were all first-generation powerhouses, which made him feel that he had no status. In that case, as a disciple of Jinren Tongu, Jun Changshao could also be classified as a second-generation powerhouse. He could be brothers with Ryu Sinan. There was nothing wrong with calling him Brother Lu. Although this is not the territory of the celestial sects, the demonic lord is about to be resurrected. Outsiders should leave as soon as possible. A powerhouse of the 10 major celestial sects said lightly. Heh. Masato Kitano sneered and said. Are you worried that we will cause trouble? Although he and Jinren Tongu were quite afraid of the 10 major celestial sects, it was impossible for them to be terrified when they met. At least in terms of cultivation, they were not weak. The weakness was that they were alone. To put it bluntly, the strength of the 2 brothers was not inferior to any of the powerhouses of the 10 major celestial sects. But if they were to fight in a group, it would definitely be difficult for them to fight against so many. Swish! Swish! After a while, the powerhouses of the various races also flew over, including the Thunder Rhombus race, the Ice Phoenix race, and so on. Back then, the 10 major celestial sects were not the only ones who destroyed the demonic clan, but also the various races. Therefore, the demonic lord was about to be resurrected, and they definitely could not sit back and do nothing. Because of the beast egg, the various races had once gathered at the Aeon Immortal Mountain, but the scene was not too spectacular. Because other than the large number of people, most of them were only at the core transformation realm. Now, in front of the huge demonic gate, the top powerhouses of the various sects and races were gathered together. The scene was shocking because they were all at the truth-seeking realm. Any one of them could easily defeat Jun Gosheng. Ryu Sinan became a little brother. He even took back the spatial barrier and thought to himself, I feel a little redundant. Forget it, forget it. He landed in Demon Affinity City, carried the stone coffin on his back, and dragged the group of bound members of the Buried Moon Pavilion away. His level was too high to participate. Inside the land of Demon Affinity, in a magnificent palace, when Yao Minjing picked up the box and sat on the throne, dense lines appeared on the surrounding walls and floor, and then quickly spread out. Jun Changshao wanted to stop it, but it was too late. Gulp. Gulp. The demonic blood in the blood pool boiled violently, and the spreading lines surrounded the throne and gradually extended to Yao Minjing's body. The crescent moon pattern between her eyebrows became even brighter. Whoosh! Whoosh! At the same time, black streams of light drilled out of the wall like ghosts and merged into the blood pool, turning into red light that hung above the throne. Blood is my body, soul is my will. A deep voice suddenly sounded in the palace, and Li Qingyang and the others' blood boiled. Brother! Gu Zhaoxi exclaimed. The demon ancestor wants to use this girl's body and soul to revive. Fuck! Jun Changshao cursed in his heart, and then rushed toward Yao Minjing. He didn't care whether the demon ancestor revived or not, but if he wanted to use his disciple's body to do so, he definitely had to stop it, because this was definitely not a good thing. Swish! Little Xie and Little Hua worked frantically to dissolve the demonic aura for their father. Jun Changshao was able to get close to the throne, and he grabbed Yao Minjing and pulled her down. But just as he was about to leave, a huge suction force suddenly erupted, and directly, Pa! Gosheng couldn't break free, and he sat down on the throne. Swish! 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 Right at this moment, the demonic blood in the blood pool gushed out. The crimson souls that had gathered in the sky also pressed down, instantly enveloping Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing, forming a huge crimson ball of water. Ah! Dog barks could be heard from within. Oh no! Gu Zhaoxi's expression changed drastically. Brother is implicated. Patriarch! Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others all exclaimed. However, there was also a roar in the palace that was on the verge of collapse. Why is there an orthodox cultivator sitting on my throne? Chapter 1465. Yao Minjing sat on the throne, and the demonic aura in the palace instantly reached its peak. Gu Zhaoxi, who was at the 8 Revolutions core realm, could only resist and not move at all. Jun Changshao was also disturbed by the demonic aura. However, he could move normally because Little Xie and Little Hua could refine and purify the demonic aura in his body. From the looks of it, Yao Minjing was sitting on the throne and had activated the resurrection procedure of the demon ancestor. Therefore, Gosheng's first thought after rushing over was to pull her down. Success! She was pulled out of the throne and held in her arms. However, just as Jun Changshao turned around and was about to retreat, a powerful suction force erupted and made him sit directly on the throne. Dog Emperor ascends to the throne. All living beings worship. Whoosh! Whoosh! In a flash, demonic blood and soul demons rushed over and surrounded Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing, forming a blood-colored water ball that no one could approach or touch. It's over, it's over! Gu Zhaoxi and the disciples were shocked. Although they didn't understand what was going on, the demonic aura in the water ball must be very powerful. The patriarch was not a demonic cultivator, and he might die because of it. Ah! Ah! Dog barks sounded in the palace, making people shudder. Patriarch, Li Qingyang and the others were suppressed by the demonic aura, and could only watch helplessly as they roared in their hearts. Brother! Gu Zhaoxi clenched his fists and shouted. I will take good care of the sect of all times and inherit your will. The disciples almost vomited blood. The patriarch was not dead yet, and Uncle Master was already making arrangements for his funeral? It was strange. Jun Changshao, who was sitting on the throne and surrounded by the red water ball, screamed. Yao Minjing, who was sitting on him, did not move at all. She even faintly showed a comfortable expression on her face. The situation was like this. The throne was the opportunity for the demon ancestors' resurrection. As long as a demonic cultivator sat on it, their body would be used as a guide to receive the demonic blood and soul. Yao Minjing sitting on it was definitely the catalyst. However, Jun Changshao pulled her down at the critical moment, and he was pulled over and replaced. In other words, Go Sheng was now the catalyst for the demon ancestors' resurrection. Demonic energy gathered around him, and Yao Minjing, who was sitting next to him, not only did she not suffer any substantial damage, but she also benefited from the overflowing demonic aura. The patriarch's benefit disciple. Such a selfless action was Huiyao. The patriarch's soul. Soul's soul was soul, and the patriarch's blood soul. Soul's soul. Xia was a little and little. Little was little, and little's little. Little of little. Little Xia and little Hua didn't just stand by idly. They both took on the role of guards and stood in various passageways in an attempt to stop them. However, due to the sheer number of guards, there was simply no way to stop them. If it had been Yao Minjing who had suddenly absorbed so much demonic qi, she would have long lost herself and lost herself. Although there was a small accident. However, as long as this orthodox martial artist dies, that girl can still be affected, and my resurrection plan can continue. The heavy voice sounded, and there was relief in its tone. The so-called resurrection was to gather the blood and soul of the demonic cultivator, and find a suitable body to be the carrier. Jun Changshao suddenly sat on it. Although it disrupted the original plan, it was only delaying the plan for now. It would not affect the follow-up plan. Patriarch Li Qingyang Xiaoziji and the others were in pain. They could see Jun Changshao's through the red water ball. It must be a kind of indescribable pain. It's been 100,000 years. When I'm reborn, I'll make the whole world tremble. The demon ancestor's voice sounded in the palace. It seemed to be a chatterbox, as if it did not know the law of villains die from talking too much. Actually, as a villain, if they did not talk more and died, they would not have any sense of existence. Therefore, everyone should not resist this setting. After all, it was not easy for anyone. Buzz! Buzz! In the outside world, when Jun Changshao was suffering from the strong demonic aura, the patterns on the huge iron gate became brighter and brighter. This also made the powerhouses of the major sects look more and more serious. Disciple, Jinren Tonggu said with a worried face, you must come out alive, or else who will fulfill the promise of 10 years? Sigh. Masato Kitano shook his head and said, when the demon ancestor is resurrected, I'm afraid that anyone who enters will be sacrificed. If you don't know how to speak, then don't speak. Jinren Tonggu roared. Whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, an even stronger demonic aura appeared on the surface of the demon gate. This made the powerhouses unanimously believe that the demon ancestor's resurrection was imminent, and the entire upper realm would be facing a great disaster. In the palace, Jun Changshao was still screaming. His soul, meridians, and flesh were being disturbed and refined by the demonic aura. His mind was in a state of collapse. Father, you must hold on. Little Xia and little Hua shouted in their hearts. The demonic aura was too strong. As long as Jun Changshao's mind was distracted, he would definitely die on the spot. This was because the intensity had long exceeded what he could endure. In a trance, Go Xing seemed to be in an illusory environment. Various deities stood beside him and smiled. Brother, we're here to pick you up. I can't die. I can't die. I still want to develop the sect. I still want to become the strongest. A new wave of demonic aura surged into his mind, causing Jun Changshao to scream in pain again. His eyes gradually turned red, as if he would fall into eternal damnation at any time. Whoosh! At this moment the space trembled slightly. The stone statue in the ring appeared out of thin air, and quickly turned into powder, sticking to his exposed skin, and quickly assimilating into his body. Whoosh! In an instant, a gargoyle shape appeared behind Jun Changshao. It flapped its wings and enveloped him and Yao Minjing. Fuck! Seeing this, Gu Zhaoxi was shocked. Brother has the bloodline of the stone statue tribe? Ah! Jun Changshao was still screaming in pain. His eyes were as red as blood, and his teeth were gradually becoming sharper. Even his appearance was beginning to turn into that of a gargoyle. Especially under the cover of the demonic energy, he simply didn't look human anymore. Could it be that under the demonic aura, Brother's bloodline of the stone statue tribe is about to be activated? Gu Zhaoxi was shocked. As one of the 3 tribes with extremely high combat strength, the stone statue tribe was the most mysterious. Especially after the bloodline was awakened, they could transform into a violent warrior that could unleash explosive attacks at any time. So you're a descendant of the stone statue tribe. No wonder you can hold on for so long. But, since when can the demonic tribe activate the bloodline of this tribe? The fiend ancestor sounded puzzled. Sigh. At this moment, a very weak sigh that could penetrate one's soul came from the palace. Who? The fiend ancestor sounded surprised. Gu Zhaoxi, Li Qingyang, and the rest heard it too. However, they did not notice anyone else in the palace. Hence they thought to themselves, could it be a ghost? Huff, 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 huff. At this moment, a majestic aura filled the air and shrouded Jun Changshao in an instant. The current situation was that the first level had the red water blob, the second level had the form of a stone statue, and the third level was shrouded by a special energy. Gosheng was completely sealed. However, under the multiple energy shrouds, the demonic aura and stone statue force in his body were effectively suppressed. A notification sounded in his ears. Do you wish to spend all your contribution points, achievement points, and reputation points to resolve the current crisis? Yes. The one who answered was not Jun Changshao, but the system. Ding. Sect contribution points 0. Ding. Sect achievement points 0. Ding. Sect reputation points 0. All the rewards he had received during this period of time were gone in an instant. Ding. Crisis resolution mode activated. Huff. Huff. In an instant, an unbelievable attribute appeared in Jun Changxiao's body. It crazily devoured and refined the demonic aura and stone statue force. Little Fire and Little Xia were so shocked that their eyes widened. What kind of power is this? The system proudly said to itself, the power of science. Chapter 1466. Just as Jun Changxiao was on the brink of death, the system took the initiative to activate the crisis resolution mode. This was a new function added in the previous version, and the condition to use it was to instantly reset contribution points, achievement points, and reputation points. To put it bluntly, it was basically using money to save his life. Here came the problem. How many points did Jun Changxiao accumulate during this time? Just the contribution points and achievement points alone added up to at least 5 to 6 million, while the achievement points were relatively low, only slightly more than 1,000. After working so hard for so long, he even wanted to get a VIP package and use it to upgrade the sect and the disciple shop. But in the end, it was all for naught. Fortunately, Jun Changxiao was in a semi-conscious state and did not hear the notification that his points had reached 0. Otherwise, he would have resurrected on the spot, grabbed his neck and roared, "Give me back my contribution points. Give me back my achievement points." With the crisis resolution mode activated and the consumption of points increased, Gosheng's body was instantly filled with the power of science as he frantically refined the demonic aura and the stone statue's power. Little Fire and Little Xia were completely dumbfounded. They could feel the sudden emergence of a special energy in their father's body. Then, with an unstoppable force, it instantly destroyed all the negative attributes. The entire process could only be described as terrifying. The next second, The two spirits were instantly overjoyed. This was because when the demonic aura and the stone statue's power were devoured and purified, they actually benefited greatly, and their strength skyrocketed. In the outside world, Yao Minjing also benefited because the demonic aura discharged from Jun Changxiao's body was purer than before. Moreover, absorbing and refining it was completely effortless. Whoosh whoosh. A moment later, the little girl stepped into the core transformation stage. Due to the 3 layers of defense, the breakthrough momentum could not be released. However, Gu Zhaoxi could feel from her actions that she had advanced by a large realm, so he broke down and said, "To be able to break through under such circumstances, this completely refreshes my understanding of martial arts." Yao Minjing was only picking up scraps. The ones who benefited the most were Little Xie and Little Fire. Under the feedback of the power of science, the two spirits' strength increased crazily, and their physique and appearance gradually changed. The heaven and earth attributes that were born in the universe started as a fetus, then an infant, then a juvenile, and finally an adult. To put it bluntly, it was similar to the process of human growth. Every time he reached a new stage, his strength would increase tremendously. The fire spirit and the evil spirit, which were lodged in Jun Changxiao's dantian like 2 sons, were currently in the infant stage. With the nurturing of a large amount of devil qi, they were gradually entering the stage of adolescence. This was clearly a land of opportunity for demonic cultivators, but in the end, it had helped Jun Changxiao instead. This was too fucking scientific. Not good, a panicked voice sounded. My power has been refined. Not only had it been refined, but it had also been used as nourishment for Jun Changxiao's 2 spiritual bodies, helping them to continuously improve their cultivation. This was simply a great kindness. Although the fiend ancestor realized that the situation was not good, he could not pull back the endless demonic qi, because he had already gone from being active to being passive. Under the eruption of the powers of science, Jun Changxiao had not only turned the situation around, but he was also crazily absorbing the energy of a top-notch expert. He was also crazily trying to obtain absolute benefits. Using money to cheat was extremely terrifying. Strange. In the outside world, the originally dazzling huge iron gate gradually weakened from its peak strength, causing the powerhouses of various clans and sects to be at a loss. Masato Kitano guessed. Could it be that the resurrection failed? Ha ha ha. Jimren Tongu suddenly laughed out loud. If the fiend ancestor's resurrection failed, his disciple would have a chance to live. Kid, Jinren Tongu said in his heart. If you're lucky enough to come out alive this time, let's see if you still dare to join in the fun in the future. As the devil qi released by the demonic gate gradually weakened, the powerhouses of various clans and sects breathed a sigh of relief, and secretly prayed that the fiend ancestor's resurrection would fail. That way, the upper realm would be as stable as before. But in reality, whether or not the fiend ancestor could be resurrected still depended on Jun Changxiao, because his body had not been occupied yet. Without Yao Minjing as the catalyst, the follow-up plan could not be carried out at all. This problem was not important anymore. What was important was that the fiend ancestor wanted to end the resurrection process to preserve his devil qi, but he could not control it at all, and was crazily devoured and refined. The current situation was that he had become the catalyst, helping Jun Changxiao to continuously increase the strength of the 2 spirits, and helping him to enter the body of a young man. Thank you. No. No, no, no. The fiend ancestor screamed in panic. The land of demonic affinity had existed for 100,000 years. Every time it opened in every sacrifice, there would be enough devil blood and devil souls to carry out the resurrection plan. Now that there was a sudden change, the most serious consequence was that the soul would be completely destroyed. The perpetrator became the victim in an instant. It was sad and pitiful. Plop! Plop! As all the devil qi in the palace was drawn to Jun Changxiao's area, Gu Zhaoxi, Li Qingyang, and the others were relieved and fell weakly to the ground. Then, they stared at the patriarch who was shrouded in 3 layers of energy with their eyes wide open. From the ferocious look on his face to the radiant look on his face, this change was too big. Ka ka ka. Ka 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 ka. At this moment, the sound of cracking could be heard. The second layer of stone gradually shattered and turned into powder that covered Jun Changshao again. His exposed skin quickly turned into stone. Gu Zhaoxi exclaimed, "The stone statue race's bloodline is about to awaken." To be honest, everything that he saw in this short period of time had shocked him. But the most shocking thing was that his brother actually had the stone statue race's bloodline, and it was awakening at the critical moment. From what he knew, the awakening of a race's bloodline was mostly carried out in the bloodline pool, in the race's territory. This kind of sudden awakening was really against common sense. At this moment, the fiend ancestor's angry roar could be heard from the palace. Then, as if using some kind of magical ability, he forcefully isolated the devil chi. The strange lines on the ground and walls quickly faded. The red water ball formed by the devil blood and devil souls quickly weakened and disappeared after losing the supply. The blood pool that had been consumed by more than half also calmed down from its boiling state. Despicable fellow, just you wait. Swish! A black stream of light visible to the naked eye flew out from the bottom of the blood pool, and then instantly flew out of the palace and disappeared along the tunnel. The fiend ancestor's remnant soul had escaped. This meant that the resurrection plan had completely failed. What's going on? I feel like I had a dream just now. The demonic cultivators in the secret door tunnel regained consciousness. The 10 demon beast heads in the palace also stopped bleeding, which meant that the demonic cultivators in the 10 stone doors were also safe. In that case, not only did Jun Changshao save Yao Minjing and prevent the fiend ancestor from occupying his body, he also saved a large number of demonic cultivators, who were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. It could be considered a boundless merit. However, the surviving demonic cultivators did not know that they had been saved, so they did a good deed without leaving their names. Especially the demonic cultivators in the secret door. After completely regaining consciousness, they continued to move forward along the tunnel. Soon, they arrived at the palace and saw the exquisite box in Yao Minjing's hands. Could this be the opportunity left here by the fiend ancestor? In an instant, the demonic cultivators who appeared in the palace had the strongest greed in their eyes, and the devil chi in their bodies became restless. Boom! The sound of a heavy landing could be heard. Xiao Ziji used the special effects of the text to transform into a Gundam and set up a large heavy machine gun. He placed his hands on top of it and locked onto the group of demonic cultivators who were eager to give it a try. He coldly said, "I advise you to be kind." Pa! Yi Xingchen's right hand grabbed at the air, and the Fengtian halberd appeared. At the same time, he also put on the unparalleled battle robe and said indifferently, "Trash." Zzz. Li Qingyang took out his exclusive divine armament, drew a line in front of the blood pool with the light of thunder, and said, "Those who cross the thunder pool die." The blood pool instantly turned into a thunder pool. This was very hardcore. Chapter 1467. The revival failed. Demon ancestor turned into a soul and slipped away. However, Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing were still sitting on the thrones. Evidently they had not completely dissolved the remnant demonic chi. At this time, a large group of demonic cultivators who had regained consciousness walked into the underground palace, staring at the exquisite box with greed in their eyes, clearly intending to snatch it. They saved them, but in the end they had to snatch it. This was a cruel reality. But they were demonic cultivators after all. They had no moral bottom line. Moreover, even Jun Changshao did not expect that when he saved his disciples, he would also save these people. Because he was distracted by refining the demonic chi, Goxing did not have any defense. Any martial artist could easily kill him. It was not a big problem. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the rest stood at the side, forming a defensive formation. Although the powerful demonic chi in the palace had completely dissipated, because of the confrontation between the sect of all times and the large group of demonic cultivators, the atmosphere became austere again. Whoosh! Gu Zhaoxi's fingers created flames. He lowered his head and lit an electronic cigar. Then he blew out a smoke ring, his gaze turning cold as he said, "If you don't want to die, quickly scram." A large group of demonic cultivators had wariness in their eyes. Li Qingyang and the rest did not give them much pressure. After all, they only had rank 1 cultivation, while the rank 8 Gu Xiaoxi was a bit stronger. Greed could drive one's mind to do irrational things. If the disparity in strength was too great, one would definitely not blindly charge forward to die. This showed they could temporarily maintain their rationality. However, the next sentence caused the demonic cultivators to go completely crazy. "The exquisite box contains my innate sacred demon body. Whoever obtains it can inherit the legacy of the Mad Devil tribe." The person who spoke was the remnant soul of demon ancestor. It seemed that he was unwilling to accept the failure of his revival, and wanted to use the demonic cultivators to get rid of Jun Changxiao, who ruined his plan. The plan that had been brewing for tens of thousands of years was finally implemented. But it failed because of an outsider. No one would be able to swallow this anger. Demon Ancestor's scheme was not bad. When the demonic cultivators who were still afraid heard this, it was as if their bodies were injected with chicken blood. Not only were they excited, the greed in their eyes also reached the peak. "Crazy," Gu Xiaoxi frowned. "They're crazy." The innate sacred devil body was the apex physique of the demonic Tao. After inheriting it, one could obtain the legacy of the Mad Devil clan. This would definitely drive demonic cultivators crazy. Go! Swoosh! Shwa! Whoosh! Several rank 5 and 6 demonic cultivators led the charge. With someone taking the lead, it immediately triggered a chain reaction. The several thousand demonic path martial artists, gathered at the entrance of the palace, began to move together. They didn't plan to confront Li Qingyang and the others. Instead, they decided to circle around them, and only focus on snatching the exquisite boxes. "You're courting death." Gu Xiaoxi was filled with killing intent. Crack! At that moment, Xiao Ziji lowered the heavy machine gun, and aimed it at the few demon cultivators who had gone around first. Without any emotion, he pulled the trigger. Da-da-da-da-da. Ding! 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 The bullets hit the barrier in front of the demonic cultivators and bounced off. This kind of firearm was very easy to deal with the demonic fog beasts in the demonic fog forest. But against a 5th or 6th transformation expert, it would be very difficult. Ta! Gu Xiaoxi threw the electronic cigar that he had just smoked on the ground, and rubbed it with his feet. "Leave the high-level ones to me. I'll leave the low-level ones to you guys." Hoo-hoo! As soon as he finished his sentence, he charged forward. Heaven-crossing palm imprint. Ooh! Numerous palm imprints were formed from his true spirit, and blasted towards the demonic cultivators who had gone around them. The strength of the palm imprints made Li Qingyang and the others feel ashamed of their inferiority. Gu Xiaoxi was strong, and had a high comprehension ability. This kind of unique martial art could only display its true might in his hands. Boom! Boom! Several rank 5 and 6 demonic cultivators who wanted to charge towards the throne were sent flying and crashed into the wall. Their faces were all pale as they spat out blood. Hoo-hoo! Hoo-hoo-hoo! Gu Xiaoxi's strength couldn't stop the greedy demonic cultivators. They charged over from different directions with only one thought in their minds. Snatch the exquisite box in Yao Minjing's hands, and obtain the innate saint demon body. In the face of absolute profits, merchants were willing to take risks. In the face of absolute martial arts resources, demonic cultivators naturally wouldn't care about their lives. Junior brother Xiao, stop the people behind. Ka! Xiao Ziji turned his arms and aimed his gun at the demonic cultivators behind him. He didn't loosen his grip on the trigger, and bullets shot out like they were free. Against a high-level revolving core realm, firearms were useless. But against a rank 1 or rank 1 martial artist, as long as the firepower was strong enough and the speed of the bullets was fast enough, they would definitely explode. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, 2 rank 1 revolving core realm cultivators were turned into sieves. Hu! Yi Xingqian leaped up and turned into an unparalleled warrior. He swung his halberd and swept it across the battlefield. His movements were as ferocious as a tiger. Looking at the battle record, he directly took down 4 rank 1 revolving core realm cultivators. ZZZ. Between Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma, Li Qingyang infused lightning into his sword and slashed out bolts of lightning sword chi. Su Xiaoma, on the other hand, relied on her speed to block the attacks. Many of the warriors' movements were blocked, making it difficult for them to approach the throne. However, there were too many demonic cultivators. Moreover, their abilities were all at the first transition. Even if they could rely on their equipment to fight against a second transition, what about a third or fourth transition? Therefore, this defensive battle still depended on Gu Zhaoxi, because he was the only one who had the strength to crush them. Boom, boom, boom. As expected, this little brother was quite wild when he was irritable. As long as the fist shadows spread out, they would definitely send a group of martial artists flying, making it impossible for them to get close to Jun Changshao. A battle between the sect of all times and a large group of demonic cultivators began in the underground palace, but it was about to end, because Jun Changshao, who was sitting on the throne, exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Then, he slowly opened his eyes and said in a low voice, "Although my strength hasn't increased, I feel that I've become much stronger." Patriarch, Yao Minjing said happily, "I've also broken through to the second transition core transformation realm." The little girl had been picking up scraps from the upper void piercing realm to the second transition core transformation realm. It could be seen how powerful the power of money was. Jun Changshao put her down and stood up to do some chest exercises. Looking at the group of demonic cultivators who were charging over, his gaze gradually turned cold. No matter what was in this exquisite box, it was found by my disciple first. Since you dared to snatch it then, Shua. Jun Changshao disappeared. When the camera caught up, he had already appeared in front of Gu Zhaoxi. His right fist punched a demonic cultivator's face, and he said, "Go to hell." Boom! The demonic cultivator, who was hit, crashed into the wall like a cannonball. His chest caved in, and his mind was completely disconnected from his brain. Fuck! Gu Zhaoxi's eyes widened. The demonic cultivator who attacked was at the 6th transition, and his brother was at the same level. They were at the same realm, but he was actually killed in one punch. This was too exaggerated. No. At this moment, Gu Zhaoxi clearly saw Jun Changshao's clenched right fist, and his exposed skin petrified. He suddenly realized, brother used the power of the stone statue. TSK. Jun Changshao raised his hand and said in surprise, "Armament hockey?" Shua. Clenching his fists, the new energy gathered in his dantian quickly erupted. His entire body quickly petrified, and even his appearance turned into a gargoyle. The greedy demonic cultivators saw this and exclaimed in unison, "Stone Statue Clan." Shua. Jun Changshao appeared in front of a 4th transition core transformation realm martial artist out of thin air. He leaned sideways and lightly raised his finger, pointing it between his eyebrows, and said coldly, "Die." Whoosh! Because the scene was too bloody, the camera automatically changed angles. They only saw the splashing of blood, and then, the martial artist fell to the ground and turned into a corpse. Patriarch, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others were dumbfounded. From the moment he appeared in front of the demonic cultivator to the moment he killed him, the whole process couldn't be any simpler. However, this scene was still playing out. The petrified Jun Changshao seemed to have transformed into a demon. As long as he appeared in front of the enemy, he would point his middle finger at their forehead and take their lives. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Bang bang bang. In a short period of time, Jun Changshao stopped in front of Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others. The corpses of demonic cultivators lying behind him had already reached more than 300, and the cause of death was all pierced through the head. Sure enough, seeing his brother killing so cruelly, Gu Zhaoxi secretly said in his heart, just like the storyteller said, "The Stone Statue Clan who has awakened their bloodline is violent and ruthless." Jun Changshao's performance was too strong and brutal, instantly calming down the demonic cultivators behind him. Then they retreated step by step in fear. This was not a human. This was a stone statue ghost. The land of demonic fate, created by the demon ancestor, is nothing more than a place to revive himself. You all came in to be sacrificed. And now that I have saved you all, not only do you not know how to be grateful, you even dare to snatch my things. This is really, Jun Changshao said coldly, you deserve to die. Before the word die could finish, streams of light exploded in the sky. Puchi, Puchi, Puchi. The hundreds of demonic cultivators who had yet to leave the palace, regardless of whether they were at rank 3 or 4, or rank 1 or rank 2, had their heads pierced through. After coming to the upper realm, Jun Changshao rarely made a move, and had been keeping a low profile to develop. Now that he had started a massacre in the palace, it was as if he was dreaming of the devil, who was crazily slaughtering in the plain battlefield. The difference was this time, he did not use the unstoppable blade, but relied on his own strength. Patriarch. Li Qingyang wanted to say something but hesitated. This group of demonic cultivators wanted to snatch the opportunity from his junior sister, so it was natural for them to be killed. However, he felt that the petrified patriarch seemed to have changed. He had become emotionless. If not for the fact that he could still speak normally, he would be worried that he had gone berserk. Second senior brother. Su Xiaoma transmitted his voice. Patriarch is a little strange. He also noticed the difference, and even felt a sense of strangeness. Jun Changshao had changed. The petrified him no longer had that annoying and despicable expression. He also did not have the gentle look he had when facing his disciples. Instead, he had his back facing them, emitting a cold and stern feeling that made it difficult for people to approach him. Could it be that under the influence of the demonic aura, his personality has changed greatly? He thought to himself. Brother. Call me Patriarch. Gu Zhaoxi hurriedly changed his words. Patriarch, since this is a trap set by the demon ancestor, there might not be any opportunities here. We should quickly think of a way to get out. Let's go. Jun Changshao got up first, and walked to the entrance of the tunnel. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others skillfully collected the demonic cultivator's spatial rings. It's a waste of space to carry unimportant things, Jun Changshao said calmly. Huh? Everyone was dumbfounded. Didn't you teach us to lick every bag? Second senior brother. Su Xiaoma said with certainty in his heart. There must be something wrong with Patriarch. 10 stone doors. The survivors who entered came out one after another. Although they looked miserable, they did not have any major injuries. Although only a short time had passed, only 80 to 90,000 demonic cultivators survived. The rest had all been sacrificed. Someone said in surprise. Why is there a door in the distance? Let's go. Let's go take a look. Everyone immediately rushed to the secret door. Clearly, they had not given up on searching for opportunities. The surviving demonic cultivators had just walked over when they coincidentally saw Jun Changshao walking over with his disciples. Because he was petrified, he looked very scary. Boss. A martial artist pointed at the exquisite box in Yao Minjing's arms and said, there might be some treasure hidden inside. The others also realized it, and their eyes lit up. That's right. The demon ancestor's voice sounded again saying, it contains the Khanate holy demon body. Whoever obtains it will inherit the mantle of the demonic tribe. Old man. Jun Changshao looked up and said angrily, your path is getting narrower. Tens of thousands of demonic cultivators were attracted by the demon ancestor's words. They stared at the exquisite box with burning eyes. An hour later, Gu Zhaoxi took out the cigar that he had just stomped out. Then he patted off the dirt on it and lit it up. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others stood in place a little stunned. Because in their vision, tens of thousands of demonic cultivators' corpses were lying in front of them. Their blood had gathered into a river, and was emitting a pungent smell. Bang! Jun Changshao held the green dragon crescent blade in front of him. Judging from the bloodstains on the blade, these tens of thousands of demonic cultivators had all been killed by him. Cruel, ruthless. Chapter 1468. Greed could drive a person crazy, but death could keep a person awake. When Jun Changshao stood in front of the countless corpses, the remaining 10,000 demonic cultivators all became obedient. Their burning gazes had long been replaced by fear. In a short time, he had killed tens of thousands. This petrified man was simply a demon. Do you want more? Jun Changshao coldly turned his head and said. From his words, one could tell that his thoughts were normal, but there was no emotion in his eyes, which made Li Qingyang and the others feel more and more unfamiliar. Senior brother, Su Xiaoma said worriedly. Could the patriarch have gone mad? He won't. Gu Zhaoxi said first. The patriarch has only awakened the bloodline of the stone statue race, and is currently in a petrified state. He will return to normal after the state is removed. I see. Everyone immediately let out a sigh of relief. What they did not understand was, when did the patriarch have the bloodline of the stone statue race? Could it be that he was not human from the beginning? Gu Zhaoxi was also very puzzled about this point. From their previous contact, he was 100% sure that his brother was definitely human. But why did he awaken the bloodline of the stone statue race in the land of demon affinity? Girl, Jun Changshao said indifferently. Open the box and see what's inside. Yes. Yao Minjing first placed the exquisite box that could not be put into the spatial ring on the ground, then pulled the layers of locks and opened it. Whoosh! Suddenly, a stream of light flew out from inside. Jun Changshao waved his hand, and the power of the true spirit turned into a large hand and directly caught it. It was a little fellow that was similar to a soul. It frantically struggled in the palm, but could not break free. The remaining 10,000 demonic cultivators' eyes lit up again. But when they saw Jun Changxiao's expressionless face, they immediately suppressed the greed that was about to rise. They were completely terrified. Even if it was a miraculous elixir, they would not dare to snatch it after eating it. In the face of absolute fear, greed was nothing. Is this the innate Saint Devil body? Gu Zhaoxi asked. Just now, the demon ancestor's voice clearly had the intention of inciting the demonic cultivators to attack crazily. So he didn't think that there was a physical body inside the box. Now that he saw the anthropomorphic soul body, he was immediately shaken. Lass, Jun Changshao said. Steady your mind, I'll help you fuse. He couldn't be sure if this was the innate holy devil body, but he could feel the pure devil qi inside. If he fused with his disciple, he should be able to benefit from it. Yes. Yao Minjing sat cross-legged, concealing her spirit and qi. Jun Changshao squeezed the soul and said coldly, Cooperate with me or else. Hoo-hoo! Scorching and pure flames suddenly appeared and gathered in the surroundings. It was obvious that it was carrying out the most unforgettable threat. The little guy seemed to have spiritual intelligence. He was so scared that he started to tremble. Although he wasn't sure what it was. It definitely belonged to a demonic creature, due to the majestic demonic qi in its body. The recently strengthened fire spirit should be able to restrain it. Who? The little guy was very cooperative, and turned into a wisp of gas. Jun Changshao was worried that the other party would play tricks, so he first set up an isolation array, before slowly letting go of his hand. Swish! The demonic qi broke free, and fused into Yao Minjing's body. In an instant, the crescent moon pattern appeared on the girl's forehead again, looking more dazzling and enchanting than before. Hoo-hoo! Majestic demonic qi emerged and gradually enveloped her body, finally forming a black sphere. Li Qingyang and the others didn't know what their junior sister was fusing with, but they all guarded around the array. They were constantly on guard against the remaining demonic cultivators, afraid that they would lose their minds and rush over. Jun Changshao didn't stay idle either. He released his mind to envelop Yao Minjing the whole time. Xiaohua and little Xia were on standby. If there were any accidents during this period, they would definitely rush in and refine the demonic qi that might cause harm. Safety index 10 stars. However, just as Yao Minjing was fusing with the soul, the group of Zongyue Pavilion experts that Ryu Sinan had seen before were in a secret area of the land of demon fate, kneeling in front of a huge statue devoutly. Hoo-hoo! A cloud of demonic qi flew out and hovered in the air. Several Zongyue Pavilion experts chanted strange incantations and formed strange seals with their hands. A complicated pattern gradually appeared around the sphere placed in front of them. Swish! The demonic chi was drawn in and instantly drilled in. Greetings, my lord. The Zongyue Pavilion experts knelt on the ground and shouted with great sincerity. We can't stay here for long. A deep voice came from the sphere that was gathering demonic chi. Quickly activate the spirit rotation array and leave. Yes. Several Zongyue Pavilion experts stood apart and used themselves as the eye of the array. They instantly condensed a gorgeous flowing light barrier, and with a swish, they all disappeared on the spot. You bastard, ruining one of my resurrection plans. This debt will be settled in the future. The deep voice sounded. Jun Changshao, who was guarding Yao Minjing, suddenly frowned. These words were usually said when escaping. Could it be that the remnant soul of the demon ancestor had left the land of demon fate? Also, one of the resurrection plans. Could it be that the other party left behind multiple resurrection plans before dying? Humph, Jun Changshao said with a cold face. You tried to use my disciple as a carrier to resurrect. I don't care what follow-up plans you have. I will definitely make you die every time you resurrect. The remnant soul of the demon ancestor remembered Go Sheng, and Go Sheng also remembered him. A grudge had been formed, and if they met again in the future, they would definitely be mortal enemies. Bang! At this moment, the demonic chi that had gathered around Yao Minjing suddenly exploded and turned into wisps of energy that merged into her body. Patriarch! She opened her eyes and said happily, this is indeed the Khanate holy demon body. The fusion was successful? Jun Changshao asked. Yes. A bright smile appeared on Yao Minjing's face. The evolution of the Khanate holy demon body into the Khanate holy demon body would be of great help to her future demonic cultivation. The remaining demonic cultivator's eyes shone with envy. That was the strongest physique of the demonic path. It was a great opportunity, and it was inherited by a woman just like that. Let's go. Jun Changshao said, leave this place. How do we leave? Gu Zhaoxi frowned and asked. The land of demonic affinity was an absolutely sealed space. They had no idea how to leave after entering through the huge iron gate. Simple. Jun Changshao gathered power in his fist, looked up at the space surrounded by flowing light, and said, break it. No. Gu Zhaoxi hurriedly advised. This place is related to the origin of the upper realm. If you break it open by force, I'm afraid there will be chaos. As a traitor, he was not afraid of anything. However, Jun Changshao chose to break the land of demonic affinity by force, which made him very nervous. After all, who knew what kind of irreversible disaster would occur in the upper realm if this place was destroyed? This was the brilliance of the demon ancestor back then. He connected the independent space with the origin, forcing the 10 great sects to be cautious. That was why it could exist for 100,000 years. Otherwise, it would have been destroyed long ago. How do we get out if we don't break it open? Jun Changshao asked. Patriarch. Yao Minjing said. I can communicate with the huge iron gate outside. I should be able to open an exit from the inside. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.